8:31. We're going to go ahead and start this meeting. Could everyone please take their seats?
Thank you.
Can we get a roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Baxter.
Here.
Commissioner Flores. Commissioner Flores.
He's here too.
Mayor Marino.
Here.
Commissioner Powell.
Here, good morning.
Commissioner Sachs.
Here.
Commissioner Weiss.
Here.
Commissioner Woodward.
Here.
Thank you.
And I've asked Commissioner Flores to lead us in the invocation and the pledge.
If you can please stand. Father, help us to be sensitive to what is happening to those around us. Make us aware of the concerns of others and guide us through the decision process that is before us today. Give us the strength and the courage to do what is best for all those who come before us. Amen.
Thank you. Any additions, deletions, substitutions, modifications, you name it, we got it.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On page 53, 3Q1 is deleted. On page 54, 3Q2 is deleted. On page 66, 3FF1 is a revised summary. On page 77, 5C1 is deleted. On page 77, 5D1 is an add-on. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. May I get a motion to approve the agenda as modified?
So moved.
Second.
I have a first from the Vice Mayor, second from Commissioner Woodward. All in favor, all opposed. See that motion carries 7-0. We are now onto the consent agenda, pages 11 through 67. We have 2 cards on consent. Do we have anyone that wants to pull anything from consent? Commissioner Flores.
Yeah, I'd like to pull item 3G1, page 30.
And Commissioner Sachs?
Yes. Yes, I have a couple of them that I'd like to pull. I'd like to put 3E1, 3E4, and 3E6.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Baxter.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I would like to pull 3A3.
3A3. Okay. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda minus 3G1, 3E1, 4, and 6, and 3A3?
Madam Mayor, I think Commissioner Powell
Oh,
wants
sorry,
to.
Commissioner Powell, didn't see your light.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to pull item 3H9, page 36.
H9, Commissioner?
Yes.
Okay. Let me rephrase. Who would like to approve the consent agenda minus 3G1, 3E146, 3A3, and 3H9?
So moved.
I have a motion from the Vice Mayor, a second from Commissioner Weiss. Before we move on, we actually have cards in the consent agenda, so we will. Have they been pulled? They're all pulled. Okay. I have a motion and a second. Did you get the second, Maker? Okay. All in favor? All opposed? See, that motion carries 7-0. We will now take the items that have been pulled from consent agenda. I'll actually just take them in order as they were pulled. Item 3G1. Commissioner Flores.
Yes, good morning. The reason I'm pulling this item is because it kind of caught me off guard. This is the first time I'm seeing pretty much any information regarding these 3 items. Specifically, the animal care and control renovations, $60 million expansion. I was able to connect with staff yesterday. However, they sent me over 200 documents to try to catch up. A lot of these decisions were made prior to me. So what I would love to do is to have this come back again if possible so I can wrap my head around this. Staff has been very accommodating with the information. However, there's just not enough time for me to get through it in within about 12 hours that I received them yesterday. I got mostly of the information at 4 p.m. yesterday. So if that's okay with you, I would love to table this to next month.
Okay, I have a question for staff. This is a grouping of 3 items. How does this affect the bond? And
Madam Mayor, if I may address before. Sherry?
may I finish what I was going to say?
I'm sorry?
May I finish what I was going to say?
Always.
Thank you. Okay, how does this affect the bond? How does the timing work? And what is it that we need to do? Those would be my 3 questions. Administrator Abruzzo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is us putting the pedal to the metal for the bond issuance to fund the approved projects by this board. It's nothing more than that, but would like Sherry to address where we are per your second question.
Right. We put all 3 projects together because we get a better economy of scales if we do a little larger bond issue than trying to issue debt for 3 individual items. Then you're paying issuance costs 3 times. So it's a little better to go ahead and we've had it in our CIP for several years. We presented it in June as part of our budget workshop item. And so this is to keep those projects going. I'm going to look down to maybe, I know facilities is in the room also as far as the timing of some of the projects, but 810 Detour replacement, animal care and control, I believe are pretty close to being ready to go. So the funding is needed at the beginning of the next fiscal year, October, November.
Thank you. I have lots of lights on. Commissioner Flores, do you have any additional questions?
If we table this, I don't have any more questions. If we don't, then I will.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Powell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And we're looking at item 3G1, correct? So, and this is the resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, Florida, authorizing the issuance of a series of bonds in the initial aggregate principal amount not exceeding $100 million. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And designated Palm Beach County Public Improvement Revenue Bonds. I just want to make sure that I was looking at $100 million. Just wanted to say $100 million. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
So the projects total about $90 million, and so that gives us some flexibility for our issuance costs and underwriter fees.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir.
If I may, and with that 100 million, Commissioner, we don't draw down on it unless it's needed, so we don't pull the full 100 million. Is that correct? Isn't that correct, Sherry?
No, we'll issue the whole $100 million,
Right,
but yeah.
we won't draw on it, I thought. That's not correct?
No, because, I mean, the projects are ready to go, so we'll
Got it.
probably be closing, on the calendar right now, we'll actually close in November, so we'll have all the cash available to go forward with the projects.
So
Yep.
we leave about a 10%
Right,
gap.
yep, correct, yes, sir.
Vice Mayor Baxter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Who from facilities is here today? Is that Jason? Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you? Jason, could you please explain to us how long these projects have been in the works?
Phew. Come on, Eric. I think this goes back to, 2007, maybe even before that?
Good morning, Commissioners. Eric McClellan with Facilities Development Operations. Excellent question. All of these projects are multi-year projects, have been in process for a number of years. If we're talking specifically about animal care and control, the department initially had an intent to fund a renewal and replacement project in 2012. Work started, the economy crashed, we lost our funding, and the project has been part of the surtax plan ever since. So this is multiple years in the works.
Thank you, Eric. And so this is one of the things that even when I came onto this board, that was a little frustrating. I felt like I was approving these things that I had no idea what the history was. But since being on this board, we've tried to expedite capital improvement projects because they're really far behind. So to that point, I thank you for the background information. And as much as Commissioner Flores, I want you to be fully informed, I can't find a great reason to keep delaying this. The board has already approved the projects. This is just a matter of approving the funding for those projects. Is that correct, Sherry?
Correct.
And we've spent hours and countless workshops going over every one of these projects, from the South County Civic Center to animal care and control to, I mean, this is just well overdue, past due. I absolutely want any commissioner who wants information to get it, but I can't delay this even a month without some better, unless Commissioner Flores wants to speak to why it would be so prudent to delay the possibility of getting this bond. I can't support that. And rates, right. Commissioner Weiss is bringing up a good point, and I'm sure he'll speak after me about potential for rates to go up with the bond issuance. So I think that's all I wanted to say.
Administrator?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is simply me coming in along with the Chief Deputy saying we have to get our projects done and putting, as I mentioned, the pedal to the metal, pulling things off the shelf to get them in process to start construction. That's where we're at. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Commissioner Sacks?
This never should be at this point where we are looking at projects that started years ago, and now we're looking at funding. This animal care and control facility has been over and over and over again, and it was Dr. Colazo who held it up. I'll say it on the record. I'm tired of it. And then to give us these issues, and I've got 3 of them pulled, and now I receive the background for this. So when Commissioner Flores gets background yesterday on a huge amount of money that taxpayers are going to pay, and we're just hearing about it and getting the background for it, this is unacceptable. So whoever is putting this together, make sure that we have the information beforehand. That animal care and control facility, I've been working on that with this and me for over a year. Did we not have the funding for that, sir?
We had it in our surtax plan. As years passed, project costs escalated. We actually defunded the project in the surtax plan.
I never heard that we defunded the project. Sorry to raise my voice, but every time we take this over and over again, that project has been sitting there. Dogs, and excuse me for saying this, but they're kept in small cages because we haven't put the money towards that facility, and that owner's already, I thought he deeded it to us. I thought we had the title.
Yes, we
do.
do.
We not have the title?
That's a separate issue. There's no reliance on that property for this project.
Okay, so we've already paid for it, right?
Correct. That is
so
correct.
why do we need the money for this project today?
This is for the renewal and replacement project, the renovation and expansion, not the purchase of the adjacent property.
Well, let me say for the record, I do not appreciate, it may not be your fault,
I'll take blame.
but it probably is, because it's on your desk. Okay?
That's on my desk.
But I don't want it, it's on my desk now. And I don't like it. And I want to make sure that we have these ahead of time so that we're not faced with these now. And to get this, I don't know if the other commissioners got all this paper just now. Did we all get this just now? Okay, for projects that we have to vote on today. So I know we have a new administrator, so let's treat him with respect and make sure that we have these projects up to date before we're faced with voting taxpayer money on issues that we're facing for the first time. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Commissioner Woodward?
Thank you, Mayor. And I'd just like to echo what Vice Mayor Baxter had to say, because we came in with this, and this has been a multi-year project, and we did have multiple meetings, workshops. We made a few adjustments, and the last one had a lot of community input on it. And I appreciate you wanting to know more, but I would not support us delaying this even a minute, because this goes back a long, long, long time. And I mean, even to talk about areas that are not air conditioned. I mean, there's a lot that needs to be done on this property, and we're Palm Beach County, we can do better. And I agree, we all inherit stuff from previous boards, but this is part of why it has been delayed, is because every time a new board comes in, it gets delayed. And, you know, for this one in particular, I feel very strongly not to hold up animal care and control. I would support this moving forward, and let's get this thing taken care of as soon as possible.
Thank you. Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you, Mayor. I've been here since 2018. This has been on the agenda since 2018 and prior, and I will not support delaying this for a moment. And then I think realistically, I mean, we're expecting interest rates to go up. That'll increase the cost of borrowing this money. We have budgeted to borrow this money. It was part of our budget to do this. And so I'd like to see it move forward today. I understand my colleagues' concern about not having the information and certainly support getting that information. But at the end of the day, these projects need to get done. They've all been languishing here for far too long. And so I appreciate staff moving this forward and appreciate everybody's hard work. Thank you.
Commissioner Flores.
All right, I understand that everybody wants to move this forward, and it's okay. So I'm going to voice out some concerns, and one, I have not had any opportunity to see these numbers until this got put on an agenda item. So I know we have talked, and I know that Commissioner Sachs has been very vocal about the facilities conditions, and I commend her for fighting that battle. However, when I saw 60 million for one building, where doubling the size, the first thing that I thought was, okay, are we keeping the current condition, the current building? Are we expanding? So I saw that it was both. I haven't been to the facilities. I don't know what the conditions are. I hear that they're horrible from staff. I've heard it now from the commissioners. I don't want to kill this project, but I just think there was lack of communication in this particular item. It got put on consent agenda, almost like, hey, don't look over here, and let's approve this. And I didn't like that. This is sort of the first time I'm looking at actual numbers, and so that's why I wanted to pull this. But my concern is if we're adding and we're doubling the size of the building, how many more staff members are we going to require to staff this new facility? Because I'm assuming it's not going to go one-manned. And how much money are we going to look at reoccurring costs in operations on every single year?
So thank you for those questions. So for the staffing, there's going to be an additional 18 positions, which is approximately 1.2 million, of course, depending on benefits when they get hired. And that is going to help support the additional kennels. We have kennel staff as well as our veterinary assistants that'll be added. We also have animal coordinators, foster coordinators, and adoption coordinators that'll be added to the complement. So that's totaling the 18. And then from a facilities perspective, the utility cost is about $184,000 per year.
Okay. So these are recurring costs. And I understand that we need it, but moving forward, I mean, you know that you have two commissioners here that the last meeting that was held about this, or the workshop, we weren't part of it. So I hope that we, as staff, understand that. Bring us up to speed prior to, and then don't put an item on consent when we don't know. And I feel terrible because we have a new administrator who's been here for a very short time, and I feel like I'm lashing out at the new administration, and that's really not what I'm trying to do. I'm just really trying to be more open communications where you catch us up to speed. I would have loved to have seen the facilities. I have not had the opportunity to go out to the facilities. I guess that's the concern I'm raising, and that's why I was asking for a delay. I wanted to catch up to speed. I did not have nearly enough time to, from where I had my agenda review yesterday to when I got the information to this morning. I mean, I can't consume 200 pages in about 12 hours. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Administrator Abruzzo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Commissioner. I welcome the comments and critique, and I want to say that this is my fault, not the staff sitting in front of you. As I try to get things off the shelf and into process to actually get things done. I have to take into account that some of you may have not been on the board when some of these projects were approved, when workshops happened. The way I looked at this was not something for approval on the project. It was, as we heard, years of work that's been sitting on the shelf that we need to get the bond out so we could actually start construction on the project. So when I looked at this, it was just the funding of what has already been vetted and approved. But I give you my word, as we go through things that we continue to get off the shelf, to get in the pipeline, to get funded, to get constructed, I will look at every single item. And if anybody was not on the board at the time for approval process, you will get a full review of every single project prior to you sitting on the board or not being at a workshop or an approval process. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Sachs.
Thank you, and thank you, Administrator Bruzo, because it's about time that we put things together, get them off the shelf, get them moving. Don't give it to us at the last minute. Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult. These facilities have been dormant for too long. So I appreciate having a new administrator, moving it forward. And I like to have, if it's okay, I'm going to vote to move this forward, but I want to have a report from, are you responsible for this, sir?
I will certainly take responsibility, yes, ma'am.
I appreciate that. I like somebody saying, I'll take responsibility. Will you give a report back to all the Board of County Commissioners, let's say within, how much time do you need, 60 days, 90 days?
Tell me the extent of report you're looking for, and I'd be happy to
I'd
give
like
you
to know
time.
how we're doing on these facilities that we're spending the money on.
I could speak to that right now, or we could follow up after the meeting at your pleasure.
No, why don't you do it in 60 days? Why don't you give us a report as to how these things are moving now that they're off the shelf? We got the money for you. Let's see how we're moving forward on it. I appreciate it.
That's no problem at all.
And I'll vote to move it along. Thank you, sir. Okay. So, yeah, I will make the motion. I think we already have a motion on the floor, right?
Did we already have a motion on the floor? No. Okay.
Okay.
Somebody want to make the motion?
I'm going to make a motion that we move forward on, let me see, on 3G1. Thank you, 3G1, and that we receive a report back from, put your name on the record, sir.
Eric McClellan.
Very good, Mr. Eric McClellan, within 60 days as to the progress.
I promise you I will beat that time frame.
You've already promised, it's on the record. Thank you, sir.
And we have a second from Commissioner Woodward. Before we move on, I just want to ask staff, when the agenda came out last week, how much of the backup material was attached to it?
I believe all of it, but it's a bond resolution, so it's a little bit more detailed. The CIP was included in our June package, when we talked about this during the budget. So that's really where the project portion of it was.
Okay, thank you very much. Vice Mayor, your light is on.
I was just going to follow up on something that Commissioner Sachs has said and say thank you to Administrator Bruzo for moving these projects forward and getting some things off the shelf. It has been well and long overdue. We did have a very extensive PowerPoint presentation in regards to most of these projects. So if you could send those to Commissioner Flores, that would be great. And I think that's probably the most streamlined version of the information out there. Now, if Commissioner Flores wants the full, pages of information, he obviously should get that. But I think that would be very helpful with catching him up. Thank you.
Unfortunately, being that we change commissioners every 8 years or so, it's very difficult for a new commissioner, Commissioner Flores, Commissioner Powell, to be caught up quickly. So anytime that we can give them the information that they need in advance, or maybe sit back and say, these are the projects that are on the shelf, this is where we are, it'll help with their education. But it does. I mean, we've had how many rounds of commissioners since this first got on the ground? So every time new commissioners come in, they want to change, and sometimes the changes mean cancellations, means growth of a project, means more dollars. This project started out at less than half the cost of what it is now, but again, fast forward a decade, and what a dollar was worth a decade ago is about half is what it's worth today. So we as a board try to make the best decisions possible with the information that we have, but we also have to remember that boards before us made decisions, and boards after us will make decisions too. We had a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? See that that motion carries 7-0. Commissioner Sachs, you pulled items 3E1, 4, and 6. We'll bring staff up to help with that. And we also have several cards.
Do we have cards on these issues? Okay. Madam Mayor, I'd like to hear the cards first. That might take care of the issue while our staff is getting on board.
We have one card on 3E1 and 4 on 3E4. So start with E1.
3E1.
Pam O'Brien.
Hello. Good morning, Mayor and Commissioners and Administrator Abruzzo. Appreciate this opportunity to come before you and speak briefly about AFDA, Aid to Victims of Domestic Abuse, or AFDA for short. We are here under 3EB, 1B, and we're really hoping that you will approve the funding for us from ESG. The ESG money supports AFDA's emergency shelter, where we keep people, single people or families, and their pets safe and confidential location free when they're fleeing from domestic abuse. Sadly, in Palm Beach County, like many communities, we have a huge issue with domestic abuse, and having a safe, comfortable place for these families to reside when they're at their worst moment is absolutely essential. Last year, we looked at the numbers, and you have the numbers for fiscal year 24 here in the agenda. But just to let you know, comparing that to what we did, we looked at our numbers from October 1, 24 to August 31, 25. And we served 246 individual people from Palm Beach County, representing 143 households. We were contracted to serve 70 households. So we are going above and beyond because there is a need. When you look at what we did this last year compared to the year before, it's a lot more that we are serving. We think that is in part because we were able to secure some state and private funding to hire a housing advocate who helps our families secure and locate permanent housing for when they leave shelter. So the numbers are showing it. It's absolutely essential. The funding makes up a mere 6% of our budget, but it is very important to help us keep the doors open 24/7. And I encourage anyone to look at our website at www.avdaonline.org for more information and how to be safe. And I have a little more time if anybody has questions.
All good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sachs, would you like a
Thank you.
presentation?
Thank you so much. My issue is this. These are wonderful programs. Dr. Green and Tony, we discussed this. Adoptive Family Aid, of course, the AVDA has been around for years, and of course the YWCA, who can contest their good intentions. I just want a commitment from you, Dr. Green, that we will make sure that these different nonprofits will work with the county staff to aid in permanent or transitory housing for each one of these programs. Is that a good commitment from you, sir? Okay, that's all I need. These are great programs. I have nothing, they've been going on for years and years, but they need help and not finding sort of shelter, but actually housing first. And if you'll commit to help these folks out, I have no objection to putting the money down, sir.
Absolutely, yeah, I'm a commitment.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Powell, your light is on.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I just want to confirm, and with Mr. Green, number one, the grant funds, is there anywhere in particular, the Emergency Solutions grant funds, that they're coming out of in terms of the county budget?
No.
Okay. And this is a motion to approve amendment number 2. So this is October 1st, 2023 through September 30th, 2026 in the amount of $411,477. $411,477 for A.
Yeah.
And then an increase in funding by $193,634. Not to exceed $567,718, correct?
Yeah, that represents the increase.
Okay.
Amen.
And then B, the aid to victims, ABDA, that's $159,750. Make sure I'm saying those numbers correctly. $468,940 there, that's not to exceed. And then with the YWCA, we're going to see an increase of $58,093.
That is correct.
But not to exceed $167,670. Okay, perfect. I think I'm good there. Which allocated $484,092 in ESG program funds in total. I miss any numbers? Perfect. I think we're good.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much. It's excellent.
Commissioner
Madam Mayor, if
Weiss.
there's no other questions?
There are some more questions.
Oh, okay, good.
Commissioner Weiss.
Oh, I don't have a question. I was just going to make a motion to approve this item.
That's what I was going to do, but we can do it together.
We have a motion from Commissioner Weiss, a second from Commissioner Woodward. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? See that motion carries 7-0. All right, we're now on to item 3E4.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think we have the same staff. And again, Dr. Green, these are good programs. I think I asked her in agenda review if any of this was coming from our opioid settlement, and they are not. So those will be additional monies that will come from our opioid recovery plan. And I just want a commitment that whatever monies that we give to FAR and to the Palm Beach County Behavioral Health Coalition and the recovery community, that we, and these is opioid and substance abuse addicts. It's a lot of money that the money is increasing, but that you will speak on their behalf, since you're speaking on their behalf for this additional funding, that they will, through you, commit to housing first, sir.
Yeah, so we are certainly going to continue to focus on, getting them permanently housed, and we love housing first, and of course we know that the current administration is pushing back on that, but we remain committed to making sure that we are not allowing those barriers to prevent people from being permanently housed.
Excellent. That's what's important. Not necessarily permanently housed, because we don't have enough housing for everybody, but these are addicts who need help, and they're getting help from these wonderful programs, and possibly we could have transitory housing right there on site, which would be just enough for them to get enough treatment, and then to move on to permanent housing, and then buying houses, from apartments. So I just want to make sure that before I commit myself to this additional monies, that it will be a commitment by staff, county staff, that we will work with these groups to get housing first, possibly on site, for them to provide housing for the patients that they take care of.
Yes, so we do currently have it in our plans to help expand transitional housing and recovery housing for the residents who are coming out of treatment. That is a part of our overall plan, and so I'll give you that commitment.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. If there's no other questions, Madam Mayor, I can go ahead and do a motion to approve.
We have cards.
We have cards, and Commissioner Powell, your light is on.
I have my lights.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to verify here, for FAR, there's going to be an increase, and this is from September 30th, 2025 to September 30th, 2026 for the fiscal year, a $60,000 increase, and the new not to exceed is $300,000?
Yes.
And then for the Palm Beach County Substance Abuse Coalition, which is doing business as the Palm Beach County Behavioral Health Coalition, we're seeing an increase in funding for that fiscal year of $1,100,000. $1,100,000. And that's not to exceed $5,400,000?
Yes,
Okay.
this is an amendment, so yes, that is
Okay.
correct.
So all those numbers are correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you, Mayor. I did have a question about this. I had a recent meeting with the new CEO of FAR, and my concern, not that I don't care about housing, but my concern is that part of these programs is also about recovery, like long-term recovery and sobriety, not just housing, because
correct.
people can still continue to use in a house, right?
That is
Okay,
correct.
so I just wanted to make sure, yes, the housing is important, but are we putting money towards something that's going to help addicts get their lives back and become members of society that they want to be with us, and not just put them in a house where they can continue to use drugs?
Absolutely. It is a comprehensive approach. We know that housing stability is one of the primary predictors of success, and so it's extremely important, but there are many other things that people in recovery need in order to be successful, and so we are taking a comprehensive approach.
And that's what these dollars will be putting
Yes,
that towards as well.
That is what our community hubs focus on. And then FAR, it's a regulatory body, but they're getting more and more engaged in housing and connecting people to housing, not just from the recovery residences, but permanent housing as well.
Okay, because I was encouraged by my conversation with them that it wasn't just, because we had, in Delray, in my district, we had a couple of these homes where we were getting a lot of complaints when I first got on, and that's gone quiet, which is good. And I think these homes are meant to, not just provide shelter, but also
Right,
what
support
comes along with
services.
this. And
is
that
correct.
is what this is, right?
That is correct.
Okay, and we do have 4 cards if you want to go ahead
right
and take
ahead and
those.
call the cards.
Okay. We have Essence Bell, Yanalise Quills, Darcy Alvarez, and Cindy Singer.
Good morning, you guys. My name is Essence Bell, and I actually know one of you. I was a referee for Commissioner Flores a few times, so I see him as coach, actually, not commissioner, but congratulations, sir. And honestly, I was just asked to speak on how the hub specifically has helped someone like me, and all I would like to say is this is truly a matter of life and death, and the lives in which these programs have helped are so numerous you guys may not even realize. There's people who are working with your youth. There's people who are in schools who are, like myself, I am a coach, I'm an insurance broker, I am a referee. I am a singer, vocalist, and drummer for a few different church organizations in this county, and all of these things have been able to happen because a place like the Hub exists and has allowed me to find hope again, allowed me to use the gifts that God has given me for my community. And I would hate to see us not get the proper funding in order to continue that for other people who I see these programs helping every single day. I do agree very much so, Commissioner Woodward, with what you said about housing is necessary, but recovery is so much more necessary. And these community centers help us to be able to get back into community, get into housing, but stay in recovery so that we don't just lose it. And it's that's continuous cycle of, we are doing good and then we're not again, right? And also, a lot of people, this is the recovery capital of the world, and a lot of people are not able to afford treatment all the time. I've seen that, where there's people who kind of just fall to the wayside because there's not enough places like the Hub, and not enough people know about the Hub, and then the Hub itself doesn't have the resources to help all the vast amount of people who cannot afford to go into treatment, right? And especially people who are native to this county. I'm actually a transplant myself, but I've seen the streets filled with people who should be able to walk with dignity into a place and get help, and they can't because they cannot afford it or they don't have insurance. So the Hub opens its doors to people like that who are the least of these, and I'm just grateful for what they've done so far, and I'm grateful to all of you guys for even allowing me to speak today, and thank you so much.
Thank you. We have 2 podiums, so you can go ahead and line up between both.
Good morning. I'm so happy to see so many of you that I've talked to personally. My name is Cindy Singer. I'm the president of the board of the Recovery Community Center called The Hub. We have 4 locations. And I'm also a parent of loss, and I've talked to you about that, many of you as well. I lost my son, it'll be 10 years, October 28th. You know, I think if I had a place called The Hub to go to back then, it would have helped me navigate this awful, awful cycle of substance use disorder. Because The Hub is not only for substance use disorder folks, it's for their families. And I might have had a place to go into and say, can you help me find appropriate housing for my son? I didn't know what to do. I didn't know about FAR certified homes. I didn't know about the fact, well, I did know that without housing, you can't recover, okay? You need a roof over your head. You need food in your stomach. You need a place where peer supports can walk along with you and help you on your journey. So I'm very thankful that you're going to approve the funds necessary, and I even suggest that we even give more, because it's really not enough. You know, 100,000 deaths a year, third leading cause of death. And we know that the numbers have come down because of Narcan and other factors, but Narcan being the biggest. People are still overdosing. They're just, the overdoses are able to be overturned, and people are brought back to life. So every life is precious. I do this in memory of my son. I'm a mom on a mission. I believe that we all have to work together to eradicate this. We're not going to eradicate the disease, but we're going to help people manage it. And I really appreciate all of you and your ability to listen to me on a personal level and to all of us in the county. So thank you very much.
Commissioner Sachs, your light is on.
Because I like to make the motion. I love these programs. You're blessed. And we are to help you.
Do we have any more? We have a couple more cards, so before we go there, we'll take our two. We have 2 more cards. 2 more folks wanted to speak?
Do you play basketball or your kids?
Good morning. My name is Darcy Alvarez, and I'm here on behalf of the Recovery Community Hub of Palm Beach County. I am the Program Fidelity Coordinator, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak about the incredible impact that the Hub has made and why this work is essential to our community. Over the past 3 years, the Hubs have supported thousands of people on their recovery journeys. We have recorded almost 10,000 engagements across Palm Beach County since the Hub opened in May of 2021. This includes one-on-one peer support, outreach, group programming, training, and wraparound recovery services. I'd like to speak directly to the issue that has become the biggest barrier to recovery for so many of our participants, which is housing. We estimate that prior to fiscal year 2025, around 150 were successfully housed through our support and partnerships, particularly with FAR residences. The truth is, you can't focus on recovery if you don't know where you're sleeping tonight. Helping someone navigate housing is complex. It often means assisting with applications, gathering documents, mediating with landlords or recovery residences, and sometimes even providing basic needs like hygiene items so persons can stabilize themselves enough to pursue housing. Behind every number is a person who just needed someone to believe in them. And while housing is one of the hardest challenges we face, we continue to meet people where they are and walk beside them as they rebuild. These outcomes are the direct support of our scope of work, which is peer-led engagement, personalized recovery planning, and wraparound support that treats housing as part of the whole person and not a separate issue. The Hub is often the first place someone hears the words, "You are not alone." Please continue to support the Hub so we can keep helping people find not just recovery, but stability, dignity, and a place to call home. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yanalise Quiles, and I'm the site manager at the Lake Worth Recovery Hub of Palm Beach County. I also provide peer support inside our drug court systems, and I wanted to take a few moments to show how these 2 roles connect. In the courtroom, I get to be the person who says, I've been there, I know what it feels like, and you don't have to do this alone. Sometimes people just need someone who understands the struggle of addiction from the inside. I've watched participants walk in feeling hopeless, and over time, with the help of the drug court team and peer support, they start to believe in themselves. That's what makes the Hub so special. It keeps people connected. It gives them community outside of the drug court days. It helps them see that recovery isn't just about staying away from substances. It's about building a whole new way of living. As the site manager of the Lake Worth Hub, I've had the privilege of watching so many people grow. I've seen people who felt broken walk through our doors, and over time, through the combination of peer support, community, and their own hard work, they find hope again. Drug court holds people accountable, and the Hub gives them the support that they need to succeed. Together, they create a path where recovery doesn't last just during the program, it lasts for life. And I feel blessed every day to be part of that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Commissioner Weiss, your light is on.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple things. To the folks at FAR, I just want to, and I know they're out of town, but they'll hopefully hear this, that, to see the work that they do and have done to ensure that the facilities that are offering the opportunity for recovery are being monitored or being certified. So unfortunately, a number of years ago, we had lots and lots of bad actors taking advantage of people in a very difficult time of their lives. And with organizations like FAR, we've turned that around. Not to say there aren't still folks out there, but it's not at the level that we saw a few years ago. So the work that they're doing is benefiting our community. And to the folks over at the Hub and the work that you all do, these are really challenging illnesses that people are dealing with. And, and sometimes it takes multiple times, as we've seen. It's usually not one and done. In fact, that's pretty rare. So it's having that ability to continue to operate, continuing to work with people, and helping them find their own peace of mind and find a better way to live their lives. So thank you for the work that you do, and sorry for the loss. There's many of us. We've all been there and understand where you're all coming from. But without these supports and without our staff at Community Services, I mean, we get to be the ones making the decision to invest these funds, but these really are an investment in helping people get their lives in a better place. But you all find and help with that, but you also are tracking and making sure that there is compliance with these taxpayer dollars, and wherever they're coming from, if it's the federal government, the state, it doesn't matter. They're all taxpayer dollars that we're all investing to try and make this a better community, and you ensure that happens. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. And Commissioner Sachs, I think you wanted to make the motion.
You got it. Okay, I'd like to make the motion at this time, and a gratitude for the coach, the court advocate, especially the mom, for continued funding of these programs, with the commitment by our staff that we will all work together to find these Housing First projects. So I make that motion that we approve this funding.
So we're talking about item 3E, 4A, and B. We had a motion and a second. Did you get that? A motion from Commissioner Sachs, a second from Commissioner Flores. All in favor, all opposed, see that motion carries 7-0. Now we're going to go on to item 3E6, and Commissioner Sachs, I might save you a little time on this one. This is really, you pulled this because you wanted to make sure that Housing First was important to you, and that you want them to continue to make sure that we're making every effort. Is that correct?
And they say commissioners don't talk together. But they don't say that the two Marias don't think alike. And you are absolutely correct. And I know that Dr. Green, because these are awesome programs, Rebel Recovery, the Lord, every one of you, and I know some of you are here, this is big money, but you have big projects, and you work with our people. And I appreciate that. And with the commitment from Dr. Green and his staff, they will work together to find housing first on these properties if possible. With that, I would make the motion, unless you want to, but you can't. So I'll make the motion for you. As two Marias think alike.
Commissioner Sacks made the motion, Commissioner Flores made the second. All in favor, all opposed, see that that motion carries 7-0. The next item pulled from consent was 3A3. Vice Mayor Baxter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is for a nominee or an appointment to a board, and it was nominated by 4 commissioners, and that's, I think, always great, but the memo was dated August 22nd. So we didn't even, as a board, we haven't even been a full month to submit other nominees. And I have to tell you, like it or not, Dr. Alonso is very controversial during a time in this county. And so I just want to say I would like more time to find other nominees. So at the will of this board, we can move forward because there are 4, but I won't be supporting it today. Thank you.
Motion to approve. Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Flores, a second from Commissioner Weiss. All in favor?
No.
Oh. Roll call. Commissioner Woodward.
I did have a question to the Vice Mayor's concern. Do we typically have a time period where we are notified and then have the ability to make a nomination? Do we have a policy on that? And if not, maybe we should, because there should be a certain minimum amount of time.
There is, and it's included in the memo that is sent to the board as to what the time frame is in order to provide a response.
Is it different for every board, or?
Morning. No, it is.
Pull it towards you also.
Okay. No, for when the memos come, you have 10 business days. That's statute for the county commissioners to review the nominations and to submit any additional nominees that you may have when those memos come. I can provide more information, but that's...
No, that's okay. 10 days, I just think that's a very short period of time. I mean, with the amount of emails we get, the amount of work we have going on in our offices, and to then reach out to different people and give them time to get back to us if they were interested in serving on the board, it doesn't give much turnaround time as well.
I understand.
And they do have to fill out an application, right?
They do have to fill out an application, and typically when that does occur, I've had that incident with your office, we'll still get the nominee in, and those will also be included, and they just will not go through the cycle as the first, because it will delay the process in the agenda item, because it is already pretty much a 3-month process to get to this point here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Powell, and then Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I was going to ask that the question. I think you may have answered it, Ms. Wamsley, with regard to the Vice Mayor's question. If there were an opportunity where she had another suggestion of a candidate, if there were an opportunity to delay that, but what I'm hearing is that's not so because of statute. Is that right?
It's just a clarification, it's policy. It's not statute as far as what the time frame is.
What's that?
Okay.
It's county policy.
Okay, sorry.
So if the Vice Mayor did have someone else in mind, and I don't know if she does, or if any of us does, and we wanted to change the policy, we could do that. Is that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
How do we do it?
Attorney Kaufman, and then I'll go to
Thank you.
Commissioner Woodward.
I was just going to clarify, this is not statute. This is simply board policy. The board can determine how much time it wants to continue its appointments, to consider the appointments.
Thank you. Commissioner Woodward, and then Commissioner Sacks.
I just wanted to clarify, you said it's about a 3-month process to get to this stage. So why are we only given 10 business days in order to participate in this process?
Sometimes the applicants are not as quick to turn around on the application. There is what I consider a chase to try to get that information back. And we try to get that back in a timely manner to fall in line so I can get it on the agenda, so I can get the appointment made.
Would that be someone who's like
No,
a reappointment or a new applicant?
Both. I've had it both. There's times where I am chasing and I'm making multiple emails, phone calls just to get the information back. I do put a deadline into the request so that we can expedite the application and there's not a delay in that, so I can get it up to you guys for your review and have the time to take into consideration, and if there is someone else that you would like to be considered for the vacancy.
Okay, I think this is something we probably, if this is our policy, I agree, we should probably address it, because I know there's been a couple that I've missed. Like they come in and I see that we've made an appointment and, we just miss it. So a few extra days or,
We can certainly bring back that for discussion as far as the length of time for commissioners to have to respond to the memorandum that is sent out with all of the advisory boards. That isn't an issue. For this particular board, the term, I believe that there's a vacancy right now, and so they're trying to fill it for a commencement date of today.
Okay.
Administrator Abruzzo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Per Commissioner's comments, we administration will put together some options and present it to you to revamp the entire system. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Baxter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. An idea. You had said this takes 3 months to get to this point. What started 3 months ago?
The application, part of it was Dr. Alonso was on vacation. So that was like 2 weeks by the time she got to the point where she was able to complete the application and return from vacation, and then vetting the application.
How did she know to complete the application?
She submitted it through the portal that we created last year based on...
How did she know there was a portal to submit and it was open for an appointment or nomination, excuse me?
In this case, I'm not sure. The portal is on our website to be able, for anyone that is interested in any particular advisory board. This is a little bit different. It's not a typical advisory board, so it may be that the Health Council of Southeast Florida also let her know that there was an opening.
I guess my suggestion would be, instead of, because this seems baked by the time we get a memo, giving us only 10 days, is that as soon as an application for a nomination is started, let all of us know, and then give us the same amount of time. If it's taking that person 3 months to get through the process, that gives us a decent amount of time to find our own people and have them go through the process. So I think that might be a better way, so this doesn't come to us and we have 10 days.
We will bring back additional options.
If there's a...
Well, I am working on something where the report for vacancies will be an automated generated monthly report for you guys.
But that's vacancies. What about ones that are open for, because there's a difference between just direct appointments and what is open for nominations.
Yes, so there is 2 reports.
Okay.
Okay, one will be your districts, like you have, the other would relate to this.
Okay. Thank you.
Attorney Kaufman.
This is one of those things I believe your administrator is going to be looking at in a holistic approach, and he's going to be doing process improvement models. So he's going to map out the whole process, then he's going to find ways to make it more efficient and effective, and ways that will shorten the time frame and address the needs of the board. So while he's doing that, he'll bring back some proposals to you all and get some feedback and be able to make this process a little bit more efficient and meet the needs of the commissioners a lot better. So I think that's what he's proposing to do, and I think that that's something that he will need, Todd's help with and his chief deputy's help with in order to bring back to you.
Thank you. Commissioner Sachs.
Thank you. I absolutely agree with the Vice Mayor. This goes across the board. on, even getting supplied with 20, 30 pages of information on the day of a commission. We need to have, and it's not, you only follow the procedures. Now we have a new administrator, so we're going to have new procedures so that we all have an opportunity to review, study, research, and then come back with some, with educated answers, responses, and especially votes. So, County Administrator, I look forward to that, and I look forward to being able to respond in a more educated way to this. Thanks for bringing that up, Vice Mayor. It's long overdue. Thank you.
Commissioner Flores.
Yeah, I'm just glad that I'm not the only one that has felt this way, and it seems like we all feel the same way. I had my own issues yesterday in regards to some of these appointments, because either they came through and I missed them, or I didn't have enough time to find someone. So I'm glad that we're going to take a look at that. So I appreciate that conversation.
So the question is here, do we make this motion and move it forward, or do you want to wait?
And a second.
Who was the motion maker in the second, please?
Flores was the maker and Weiss was the second.
Thank you. And correct, Vice Mayor Baxter asked for a roll call vote. So would you go ahead and do that, please?
Commissioner Flores?
Yes.
Commissioner Powell?
Yes.
Commissioner Sachs?
Yes.
Commissioner Weiss?
Yes.
Commissioner Woodward?
No.
Vice Mayor Baxter?
No.
Mayor Marino?
Yes.
5-2.
Thank you very much. So that motion carries 5-2, and we'll now move on to item 3H9. Commissioner Powell, you pulled this. Got lots of H's, lots of numbers under H. This is a contract for services with Speedy Rooter. Do you need a presentation, or do you just have questions?
I've got some questions, Madam Mayor, and staff also discussed with me yesterday that they would get me information with regard to how this works exactly. So I just wanted to make sure that we pull this out. And I've got a couple of questions, if I could ask those. And I guess I'll start here. These contracts are 5-year indefinite quantity contracts with a maximum cumulative value of $500,000. And this is across all pre-qualified contractors. When it says all, is there a number in specific in terms of how many contractors can qualify to be a part of this contracted program? Or is it an indefinite number, an infinite number?
There is no specific number that I'm aware of. However, for our last pre-qual for this type of plumbing services, we only had 4 who were on a pre-qual contract.
I'm glad you were able to tell me that. Jason, do you know how many are qualified right now for this particular contract?
So this is a renewal of the annual contract. And so at this time, we only have Speedy Rooter, who is going forward as qualified for this pre-qual contract. So this is a renewal of the plumbing services annual contract, and at this time, we only have Speedy Rooter, who has submitted for qualifications that qualify for this contract.
Thank you. So that means that any contract that comes up that's within the realm of $150,000 are bid among the pool of pre-qualified contractors. The only pre-qualified contractor would be Speedy Rooter, which means by default, Speedy Rooter would get the contract, or explain that to me.
It doesn't have to be that way. Depending on the urgency, we can send it out to them if the proposal comes back within our estimates. We can consider moving forward. If not, we can consider making it an open solicitation where all can bid on it as long as they meet the pre-qual qualifications.
In order to be an open solicitation, does it have to be above 150,000? And then can you explain, it also says here the website vendor and self-service website and are bid among the pool of pre-qualified contractors, while projects $200,000 or greater are additionally advertised in the newspaper. So if they're under 150,000, you would make the determination as to whether they would be open to a larger stream of contractors. But you don't have to if it's because Speedy Router's already a qualified contractor, and right now the only qualified contractor is within our right to award them the contract. Is that correct?
It is if we, again, look at the estimate and urgency of the project. So if we are comfortable with moving forward based on their proposal, then we can.
However, if it's over $150,000 or $200,000, even with regard to speed, is Speedy Router the first line that we would look at, or is it then still pushed out?
No, it's advertised to open solicitation against all companies that can submit a proposal.
Thank you. Now, the $500,000 across all pre-qualified contractors is only designated for Speedy Router, not anybody else. Am I correct?
At this time, since we only have one company that qualifies, yes, the dollar value of these projects cumulative will be limited to $500,000. However, these are very small projects. They typically don't get to that cap.
Okay. Are there projects right now that have been designated or awarded, allocated in this under this realm right now? Are there
over the past
existing projects over the last year?
Yeah, over the past years, yes, they've been used. And they've been small dollar values. We can pull that information if desired. At this time, we don't have a current scope of work for this new annual contract.
Okay. And someone could submit to be a part of this at any time. A business could.
Correct.
Thank you. I just want to make sure I follow up to make sure we get that information for any additional plumbing contractors that may want to be considered. Thank you for that.
Commissioner Weiss, your light is on.
Thank you, Mayor. In regards to this vendor, my office was made aware that there's some potentially in the past, there's been issues, I think primarily over at Parks, with being billed for work and not having it been documented that the work actually occurred. I don't know if you're doing anything differently going forward, but my understanding is that the Parks Department had concerns about being overcharged by this vendor.
Yes, in the past, there have been some invoicing, I want to say issues, but just invoices that we had to go back to the company on and have them kind of rectify some findings.
So that's concerning that we are getting billed and with services that were not provided, and if you've come up with anything different going forward to ensure that doesn't occur again.
Yes, it's part involved with the checks and balance of oversight of the contractor and verifying the invoice to the the work performed.
So are you all confident that you've got this resolved going forward, that our departments are not going to feel like they've been overcharged? Or
I can't confirm that there will be future issues on how they invoice, but again, every invoice will be scrutinized, and we'll have the conversation with the oversight of the work that was performed to ensure that we're paying for what was actually completed.
All right. Well, and I understand these are small things, but over time, obviously, it adds up, and it's just a little disconcerting to hear that folks. And whether, I understand errors get made at times, but if it's a reoccurring and it reoccurs, it goes beyond an error, and it appears to other people that are watching it that it was intentional. And we'd hate to see that happen, because that would preclude somebody from being able to fulfill their contract with the county.
Right.
or even have a contract with the county.
Understood.
Thank you. Commissioner Flores.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I want to thank Commissioner Powell for bringing this item, pulling it. I think this is a good conversation that we're having. My concern is that we're only going to be approving one. And anytime we don't have competition in the marketplace, it's very hard. Plus, you only have one contractor to call in case of an emergency. And what if they can't answer the service call until 2-3 hours? What happens then? When you have competition, it creates a healthier market. The other question I have is, do we negotiate contracted rates, or do we just get billed at whatever rate? Do you guys negotiate what the rate is that they're going to charge us per hour, or how does that work beyond just approving an amount?
So based on the annual contract, the proposals will come in, and if we had more than one on this contract, again, we're going with the lowest proposal that's within the, estimate of the work. So for this case, again, if we only have one, we can, again, send it out, open solicitation to encourage the competition and try to get another qualified contractor added to our annual contract.
I mean, I would strongly recommend that, and also negotiate rates well in advance so that it's competitive. But when you just have one, I see the attorney getting ready to say something. But when you just have one, it's hard to get competitive rates because you're beholden to that one vendor. So, and I know that some of these are open for bid depending on the price or the amount. But that would be my recommendation, that we expand this program. Do we get more vendors through the pipeline? And if we need to help them to get, to this point, then we should do that, because that way, hopefully we can drive some of the prices down, because now it's a competitive process.
Attorney Kaufman, did you want to add anything, or are you good? Oh, go right ahead.
Yeah, just to point out that it is, as Jason said, it's a competitive bid process. So that would essentially be where the negotiation would be, that whoever has the lowest bid, it's not negotiation, we're just going to award to the lowest bid. Obviously, that's problematic when you only have one under contract at this point in time. But
So my recommendation is, how do we create a larger market of providers for the county? And we're just singling out one for plumbing, but I would encourage to get more throughout everything. I mean, I brought up the case of speed bumps, and how many providers do we have out there? So that's what I mean. I think the more people that we have competing for some of these bids, I think the county ultimately wins.
Yes, we do have a number of annual type of contracts across different trades. Unfortunately for this one, we just received the one company that was qualified to meet the requirements. So we will continue to try to bring in more qualified contractors to add to the pool here, but we'll continue to work on that.
I think if the county were known as somebody that paid their bills relatively quickly, we might have more people bidding. And that is the concern I've heard from a lot of contractors that don't bid with the county, is because of the payment process. So if we could move that along, Administrator, that would be fabulous. Meanwhile, Commissioner Powell, your light is on.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And my question was to catapult off of the comments of both Commissioner Weiss and Commissioner Flores. As I look at this, one of the things that strikes me from Commissioner Weiss is we're awarding this contract, and sometimes they've been found to not maybe even do the work, right? Which means we're incentivizing mediocrity, and that just can't happen. That can't happen, especially when there's only one contractor, and maybe there's contracts for only $50,000. So we give it to them, and then they don't do a good job. And we've now had to go back and send somebody back to check to see if they did the work they said they were going to do, and then they didn't do it. And that becomes problematic. I agree with Commissioner Flores. We've got to have a process where maybe we make sure that when it's small contracts like this, that we have more than one company that applies. And also see Speed of Rooter Speedy Rooter, is local, which is good. It is non-SBE, and I know in this particular program, the SBE contractors will be given a price preference if its bid is within 10%. Now, I'm not sure if there are any SBEs that would be willing, especially if the county doesn't pay quickly, to apply for a contract like this. So I think it's twofold. We can't incentivize mediocrity because there's no substitute for excellence. No, the only thing that is a substitute for excellence is excellence. Mediocrity, in essence, will always be mediocre. And with that being said, we have to look for those who are excellent. And when we find that there are people who we've contracted with who have been disingenuous, we shouldn't continue to reward them. We should make sure that there's some type of flag placed on what they've done so that when we come back to this process, they're not the only bid. My concerns, I'm not sure if we can fix it today, but I did want to go on the record as to saying that this cannot happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Sacks.
Thank you, Commissioner Powell, for bringing that up. And Vice Mayor, this goes along with your discussion as to, I never would have even, I don't know that much about plumbing. But this is on the consent, and that is what concerns me. So I don't know where we go from here. I love your argument about mediocrity, and I love Commissioner Weiss talking about he's not paying the bills in time. So maybe with advice of counsel, we could table this and take another look at it. We can get a little more information. I don't have enough information. I'm getting information while as I'm sitting here, which really makes my vote very tenuous. I don't want to say no. I don't know enough. Maybe he's a very good contractor. But perhaps when we place things on consent, we need to be, maybe we need a new policy on this, county attorney, with the new administrator, so that these things don't come up. We're still on consent agenda. This should have been something 1, 2, 3, get it over. But now I'm concerned. So I will listen to what Commissioner Powell and my colleagues say about what we should do about this particular contract. Because I feel like my vote's a little tenuous at this time. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Vice Mayor Baxter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I'm going to echo the sentiments of my fellow colleagues. Commissioner Sacks and Commissioner Powell, I can never speak as eloquently as him, but made some very valid points. I absolutely do agree that we need more vendors. But I also hear you, we only had one person put in for this. So it's easy to say we need more vendors, and that comes down to, because our administrator doesn't have enough on his plate already right now of, streamlining our processes and making things more efficient in the county. And I can't really say thank you enough to that because these are some issues we've had for quite a while. What are our average turnaround times on payments for these vendors, which Mayor Marino had mentioned? This has been a top problem we've had for quite a while. Do we know what the average turnaround time on payments are at the county?
We don't. Hearing your comments, we'll look into that and find that sort of information, yes.
And I appreciate that. And I'm sure that answer to that, it depends, right? On what area, what department, so on. But we absolutely do need more vendors for something as like plumbing. We should have more than one. And then if we do have a bad actor, we have a choice coming up in the following years, say we have 3 or more, to not use them again. But we need to get in a place where more people want to bid on this and find ways to get more qualified vendors who want to participate with the county to give more competition and bring some of these the prices down. So I absolutely do agree with my colleagues. So thank you.
Commissioner Weiss.
Yeah, I think it's just to echo what Commissioner Powell said. We also, though, we need the service, and so, and as was earlier mentioned by Jason, thank you for clarifying that we can add, or more vendors can be added to this. So hopefully there will be additional competition, but I don't want to see us bear without having coverage on this, so that we make sure that our facilities And hopefully, this vendor will hear this conversation and understand our concerns. And if there was anything systemically that was an issue, they can address that as well. So with that, I'll go ahead and move this item forward.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Weiss, a second from Vice Mayor Baxter. All in favor, all opposed. See that that motion carries. But before we move on, not on this particular item, but I think what you might have heard right now is two things. One is, what is the process of getting an item on an agenda? Because we know we get the final copy a week in advance, and not all the backup is attached a week in advance. We've all said, and you've all heard us, we don't want to be voting on something when we only get an item a moment before. We want more time. I think you should share with the board how an item gets on the agenda, how long it takes for the agenda to get put together, how long it gets reviewed, why it takes so long, how many departments it has to go through to get to us. Because what we're all saying today is not new information. It's not a new request. We like our information in advance. And again, yes, we get our agendas a week in advance, but sometimes the backup information isn't attached, and we're only getting the backup a day or two in advance. So we as a board need to know if there's a way to speed up the process for us getting that information. Because if it takes 3 months to put together an agenda item, then it means that 3 months ago, you all knew we were supposed to be getting this information. I've had this complaint since day one, so I'm not taking this out on staff. Trust me, I'm not doing that. But there needs to be a better way that the information gets to us than just a day or two or a week in advance, because it takes a lot longer than a week to draw up the agenda. Secondly, I think what we also need to be made aware of is what qualifies an agenda to be on the consented agenda, an item on consent, an item on the regular agenda. Normally, to be on consent, it means it's part of something that we've already approved in the budget. So we've already given authority to either the attorneys or the administrator to allow this. But I think a really good explanation to why something is put on the consent agenda and why something is on the regular agenda would be information that this board would appreciate. Administrator Abruzzo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. To start, as we compile to present to you exactly the flow of the agenda process, I will tell you I will set directive right now that anything that has to do with contracts or vendor approval, whether it's $10 or $10 million, will be put on regular agenda until we streamline the process better for you, Madam Mayor, and the board.
I don't think $10 needs to be on our regular, but there normally is a dollar amount. It's like with the airports that something was able to be on consent versus on the regular agenda. I think just an explanation of what puts things on our consent agenda versus our regular agenda.
Madam Mayor, if it rises to the level that it has to go on consent agenda, I was being facetious about the $10. But if it, for instance, like the item we see now, if it's on consent and has to be on consent, I'm going to move it to regular for the time being. I think that would be a prudent move, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Okay. With that, I think no, we're not. Are we done? Yes, we are done with consent. Okay, we are now on to public hearings. And may I get a motion to receive and file proof of publication?
So moved.
Okay, in unison. We had a first from the Vice Mayor, a second from Commissioner Woodward. All in favor, all opposed. See that motion carries. Now we're on the one and only item on public hearings, and that is PalmTran, A1, A, B, C, and D. Does anybody need a presentation?
Please spare us.
It sounds like we don't.
Thank you.
So may I have a motion to approve item A1, A, B, C, and D?
So moved.
May I have a second? I have a motion from Commissioner Weiss, a second from Commissioner Powell. All in favor? All opposed? See, that motion carries 7-0. We are now on to the regular agenda item, and this is airports. Again, due to the changes in the legislature, we got items that went from consent to regular and vice versa with contract dollars. Does anybody need a presentation on 5A, 1A, and B?
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Flores, a second from Vice Mayor Baxter. All in favor? All opposed? See that motion carries 7-0. We also have on airports, item 5A2. This is an amendment to an agreement. I have a motion from Commissioner Flores, a second from Commissioner Sacks. All in favor, all opposed. See that motion carries 7-0. And stop me if we have cards. Oh, we do have cards on this one. Okay. Yes, sir.
Should I wait for the cards or should I?
We're on item 5B1 now.
Okay, never mind. I'm on.
5B1, airports has come and gone. Thank
Okay.
you for all your work you do, Laura.
I apologize. I had a question for airports.
Oh, do you want, you have, no, Laura's still here. Do you have a question for Laura? Okay. All right, we're on item 5B1. We have one card. Would anybody like a presentation?
Let me get the door for you.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, but we have one card from Neil Schiller. Oh, sorry.
Madam Mayor.
Good morning, Commissioners, Mayor. Neil Schiller, Government Law Group, representing Pinnacle Housing Group, and was just here to answer any questions if you had any.
Thank you. And we do. Commissioner Powell's light is on.
Yes, can we have a small, quick presentation?
Sure. I think the operative word there was quick and small. That was 2 words.
Should I set a timer?
Yeah, we'll give you 3 minutes. Go right ahead.
Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, Administrator Abruzzo, Jonathan Brown, Department of Housing, Economic Development, Carlos Serrano here with me, Tammy Fields, as well as Howard Falcon. Today we're presenting to you a Impact Fee Assistance Award recommendation for Pinnacle on 6 LLC for $283,902. Pinnacle will be given credits from the Road Zone 4 impact fees, Park Zone 2, as well as the Public Building Zone 1. This particular project will consist of 92 rental units located in Lake Worth Beach. The project will provide affordable housing to tenants with incomes between 30 and 80% of the area median income. And you will see there the number of 1 and 2 bedroom units based on the area median incomes that will be served. This particular project will have an affordability period of 30 years, and the estimated cost for this project is just over $40 million.
Perfect. You were under the 3 minutes. How'd you like that? Commissioner Powell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And then in summary, you have here on May 5th, 2025, the Department of Housing and Economic Development is doing the NOFA, making $3,370,272 in impact fee affordable housing assistance program funds available. Just want to clarify and make sure that's right. But the $283,902 is here as a credit for impact fees for this particular project. What goes on with the remainder of the $3,370,272?
Great question, Commissioner. So over the next few meetings, you will see a number of projects that we'll bring forward to the board for consideration based on their requests, based on their project location, based on the funds available in the zones where their project is located at.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. So in essence, we will continue to use those funds until we completely amortize the $3,370,272. Is that correct?
Provided there are projects in the zones where the dollars are available. If there are no projects available in those zones after a certain amount of time, those dollars go back into the county's overall impact fee pool, and then they're used for other non-housing projects.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. somebody else can make the
I
motion.
got a
That's
couple,
fine.
I have a couple more folks with questions.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Commissioner Sacks.
Actually, thanks, Commissioner Powell. He answered my questions. But I do have one. How much is it per unit?
You want to calculate that? We'll calculate that right now for you, Commissioner.
And then secondly, while you're calculating, which is a rather important answer to have for the county commission so that we know how much we're spending on these units. After 30 years, what happens to these units? We're going to have people who are going to need to rent these units in the year 30. So what happens to these units in the year 30?
30 years is the requirement that the county has for its affordability period. If a developer so chooses, they could continue on using that affordability period, but they will no longer be required to have units at an affordable rate or rental rates at that time.
So it goes to them.
It goes to them.
They own it then.
Yes, ma'am. And Carlos, you want to answer?
Good morning. The total amount of impact fee assistance per unit is $3,085.
$3,085 for these units. What other monies are going into the construction of these units? And while you're calculating that, how much is the city of Lake Worth putting in for these units? It's in the city of Lake Worth. And I love the mayor there. Let me say it on the record. She's a great advocate for these units. But do they have some input, some financial input into these units?
There is no additional county funding in this particular housing development, and I would ask the developer speak as to the other sources of development funding and whether there was a municipal funding contribution.
So Neil, what's your stack?
So we have $786,000 coming from the Lake Worth CRA. We are part of the Florida Finance Housing funding cycle. So if we get funded, the bulk of the money will come from that.
Very good. Thank you for answering that, Mr. Schiller. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Commissioner Powell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Neil, if you don't mind, once again, I just want to clarify the number that you said is coming from the Lake Worth CRA. Is it $786,000 for these?
Yes, 786. Yes.
$786,000 total.
000. Yes.
For, and that is combined with our $283,902. What's the total cost of the project? Because you indicated that Florida Housing Finance will also be contributing.
About 40 million. And then we have some, Pinnacle Housing Group is one of the leading affordable housing developers and has been in South Florida for decades now. So they have private financing that will pick up the rest.
Okay. That's all I wanted to know. They'll also participate in their private financing.
Absolutely.
So the number from Lake Worth CRA is more than the $283,902 that we're contributing, because Lake Worth CRA is then doing $786,000.
Correct.
Okay.
And again, this is only if the project gets funded through that competitive process. So if we don't get funded, there's no project.
So if we don't do the $283,902, then Lake Worth will not come in with its $786,000, which will then cause Florida Housing Finance to not come in with the $40 million, which scraps the project.
If we don't, sort of the reverse, if we don't get funded by Tallahassee, then we don't need this funding and we don't need the Lake Worth funding. I need the Lake Worth funding and this funding in order to submit to Tallahassee.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vicious cycle.
It is.
Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you, Mayor. I did have a question on this because we had an item under consent that you spent a considerable amount of time yesterday explaining to me, 3I3, where we had voted on one of the sources allowed 110% AMI, and then we were needing to go back and correct the impact fee to go up to 110. This one says in here, that the 92 units are going to be at or below the 110% area median income. And then below that, we have all 92 units actually being at 30, 40, 50, and 80% AMI. Which of these is true?
So,
And is there a chance this comes back to us later for a correction to get to 110?
So they both are true in that it's under 100% AMI with the top at 80. And again, the tax credit program, as Neil mentioned, that they're going to secure at the state is going to be the driver. So if they're able to secure the tax credits, then they're going to have to serve the low to mod income. And I would not anticipate this having to come back. If there are, if there's a chance that they're not able or not successful in the tax credit round, then maybe some sort of variation would come back. But it's the tax credits that's going to drive the max AMI for this project.
Which is the lower numbers that are listed?
Below the 80% and below. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so do we have any assurances that this doesn't come back for 110?
If they're successful getting the tax credits, then they're not able to serve 110% AMI.
Okay, so, but if you're not able to get the tax credits, then what happens to this project?
To my knowledge, it goes away. Our funding from Lake Worth CRA goes away. This funding would go away. So yeah, we'd have to start back at the drawing board.
So the tax credit, is, the CRA money is tied to that as well, the tax credits? Okay.
We can't apply for those tax credits without a local match, which is how we got through the Lake Worth CRA.
And this doesn't count as local match?
It's not enough.
It's not enough. The CRA makes up the rest of the local match?
Yeah, substantially.
And they have that parameter on there then, the CRA as well, that they can't go above? I'm just asking because we had one that we voted on August 20th, 2024, and then it had to come back to us for a correction because one of them allowed for higher. The numbers didn't work unless they went higher. I just wanted, what are we talking about here? Where are we in this?
I don't anticipate this one coming back again. I don't anticipate because again, the driver is going to be the tax credit. If the project secures the tax credits, then again, the tax credits will not allow them to serve 110% AMI. Now, if the project does not secure tax credits, again, as Neil said, I imagine if the developer truly wants this project to go forward, then they may look at the 4% tax credit sale. They may look at another variation of the project in order to make the project work. And if it has to come back or if they need to target something higher, then we would have to bring it back at that time if something like that happens.
Okay. Well, thank you for this. And just the concern is because I did a quick math on the total estimated project cost per unit price is $437,000 per unit. Honestly, don't see how this doesn't come back for some help or something because that's a big number for very low income rentals.
This is what the cost of housing is now, and the good news is we have dedicated affordable housing developers that have figured out the finances way beyond my pay grade. I will tell you that we will not endeavor to come back for this project.
Okay. And you know, I've been to some of these more recent projects, and it is concerning to me, and not that this was one of them, but some of these projects, they, you know, the rents are where they need to be, but the construction cost, and I'm not speaking to your client, but some of these, like they are building better than market rate housing, and it's all coming from different forms of taxpayer or tax credits or anything. And I had a developer, not yours, just I think it's important that we all are thinking about this, who pointed out to very expensive flooring, who said, could we have gone with a more cost-effective flooring? Yes, we could have, but it doesn't change how much we can charge for rent. And my question was, well, no, it doesn't change how much you can charge for rent, but it does change your construction cost. So yes, it is expensive. We want quality, but I hope not to visit this project or any of these future projects where I see where we're talking $437,000 per unit for an apartment, a 1 and 2 bedroom apartments, and you know, costing us almost what it cost us to build a single family home. So just going to put that out. Not that it was yours, but we do need to think about these things. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Flores, and then Commissioner Sacks.
Thank you. So in this particular project, I appreciate that we're only contributing a very minimal amount towards this project, and the CRA is picking up our larger component. So I am appreciative of that. I know it's dependent on being approved at the state level. I also do appreciate that Pinnacle is going to pick up on the majority of the financing. So these are great type of partnerships that are not coming back for SHIP or the bond dollars. So I think that's commendable. And regarding to Commissioner Woodward's comments regarding the quality of the product that they're putting on the floor or whatever else, things also have a lifetime of use. So if you buy a cheaper product, it's going to need to be replaced sooner. And I have purchased floors. I have actually installed flooring myself when I was very young. So I understand that different grades of material will deteriorate quicker than others. So when you're purchasing, you want to make sure that you build strong construction so that it lasts you longer and you don't have to reinvest over time. So I think that's a component, and it would be prudent on the developer to minimize their costs, because if they minimize their costs of construction, then their profit probably would be larger, I would assume. So, I think we have to think about things like that too, that they're building a quality product because it is a rental. There's going to be a lot of traffic in and out. That is the nature of apartments. And you think that these developers want to make a decent profit. So when we question things like that about the quality, it also concerns me that we're degrading the standard of or quality of living of people that live in an apartment, whether it's subsidized by the government or not. So these people have every right to have quality living because these are essentially, when we're looking at these AMIs, they're scraping by. I think they deserve nice flooring or whatever it is that these developers are doing. So that's just my 2 cents. I would think that developers know how to create that profit in their product. So thank you.
So I actually have no more lights on, but I will make a comment. Neil, you can sit.
Thank you.
Thank you. As for development and the cost of items that go in, I think Commissioner Woodward was comparing maybe a tile floor versus a marble floor. Finishings don't have to be luxurious. They have to be. It's like building a building here. It's like making improvements to a county building. We're going to make a building that will stand the test of time, but will be something that shows our taxpayers we are being frugal with their dollars. And I think that's what we hope when we have developers that are building units. When I renovated my home, I didn't put in a brand new kitchen. I just had my doors refurbished because I didn't want to spend the money. And they look just like new cabinets. I think really what we're saying is we all don't like the price of what units are today. Mm-hmm. And if a developer is putting in higher grade finishings, that's not for us to say whether they should or shouldn't. We would just like the product to be less expensive because then it costs the taxpayers less money or whoever else is helping to subsidize these products. I think that's what Commissioner Woodward was getting at. And I appreciate what Commissioner Flores said. We do want everybody to live in the best situation as possible. So did we get a motion yet? I know this was a long time ago that we started this conversation. You did. Did we get a second? Second. Okay. Commissioner Flores made the first. Commissioner Sachs is the second. All in favor? All opposed? See, that motion carries 6-0. All right. We are on to 5B2. This is staff recommending approval, a motion to approve some state housing initiative partnerships and a budget amendment in the amount of $7,602,695. Would anybody like a presentation? Would anybody like to make a motion? I have a motion from Commissioner Flores, a second from Commissioner Sacks. All in favor, all opposed. See that that motion for 5B2A and B carries 6-0. We are now on to item 5B3A, B, C, D, and E. This is a continuation of housing and economic development. This is interest earned on the impact fee fund. Again, similar to what we just heard. Does anybody need a presentation on this item? Commissioner Weiss, your light is on.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to approve items 5B3, A, B, C, D, and E.
I have a motion from Commissioner Weiss, a second from Commissioner Sacks. All in favor, all opposed. See that that motion carries 6-0. We are now on to item 5B4, A, B, C, D, and E. Similar circumstance where you were using impact fee fund dollars. Does anybody need a presentation? Seeing none, someone like to make a motion, please.
I would like to move 5B4, A, B, C, D, and E, Mayor.
Thank you. And I have a second from Commissioner Sacks. All in favor, all opposed. See that that motion carries 7-0. We are now on to item 5B5. Would anybody like a presentation? Seeing none. Commissioner Weiss, your light is on.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to note, these last items have been in District 2, so I encourage my colleagues to see if they can get some affordable housing in their districts as well. Hang on. Thank you. I'm going to move item 5B5.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, but Commissioner Powell, your light is on. Do you have a question?
Thank you, Commissioner Weiss, for pointing these out, that these are in District 2, these units. For confirmation, I want to make sure, are these rental units or for sale units? All rentals. All rentals. Okay. And it's a request, I see in here, it's Soft Drexel, with a request for $18 million in funding during the BCC, during this time, which the BCC directed to revise the housing bond. Is that the housing bond loan program request for more than 15% of the total development cost? But I want to make sure that's $18 million there.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Carlos.
The request that the developer came to the board with initially when they submitted a proposal in response to the housing bond RFP back in 2024 was for $18 million.
Okay.
At the board's direction to reduce that request, they reduced it and went to the state and were successful in securing a sale funding award from the state. The amount of the housing bond loan proposed is now $13.1 million.
So that's the $13,185,000 that they'll be receiving now.
Yes, sir. And that equates to just over 13% of the cost falling beneath that 15% limit that the board directed.
Excellent. And then they'll receive from the State Department Incentive Loan Program, or SAIL as it's called, is that, it looks like $11,656,000?
That is correct, sir.
So they'll receive $13,185,000 from the Housing Bond Loan Program, and then $11,656,000 from the state in the SAIL program, which is the State Apartment Incentive Loan Program for this particular project, correct?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. All right, thank you so much.
Okay. Commissioner Weiss, you want to make a motion? Oh, I'm sorry. We had the motion. So all in favor? Aye. All opposed? See, that motion carries 7-0. Okay. Thank you very much. We have deleted item 5C1. We are now on item 5D1. This is an add-on. This is administration. And staff recommends a motion to seek direction from the board in reference to the hiring of our new county attorney. Excuse me.
Good morning. So, as a continuation from our conversation last week, the recruitment process for our next county attorney. At this meeting, at last week's meeting, I was...
Hold on one second. Can you introduce who you have with
Oh, I'm
you
sorry.
and yourself?
Okay,
Just
I'm
for-
sorry.
Let the record
David
show.
Kahn, Human Resources Director.
Tracy Ellison, Deputy County Administrator.
Jean Williams, Assistant County Attorney.
Thank you.
Go right ahead.
So at the meeting last week, I was asked to research qualifications and eligibility for the county attorney position in some other counties, provide a sample job description, a list of search firms, and just start the drafting of a recruitment process. Based on that research and based on the conversation from last week, the following is a draft minimum qualifications. This includes graduation from an accredited law school with a Juris Doctorate degree. Additionally, the candidate must have at least 10 years professional legal experience, including at least 5 years practicing in the state of Florida, with considerable experience working in and or with local government agencies, including demonstrated knowledge in the legislative process, ordinances, litigation, and contracts. Experience is also required in legal services management, including overseeing multiple attorneys and administrative personnel. And then a board certification in civil law, municipal law, civil, county, and local government law, or related field is preferred.
Commissioner Sachs?
I just want to make sure, and I know that it's presumed, but since we're looking for lawyers, we want to make sure nothing is presumed, that the accredited law school with a Juris Doctorate degree and membership in the Florida Bar. Got to be a Florida Bar attorney.
Absolutely.
So let's make sure that, I mean, it's presumed this person would be a Florida Bar attorney, but, and the U.S. District Court, federal, state, and federal in the state of Florida.
I'm sorry, what was the last part?
Federal, U.S. District Court admission in the state of Florida.
I'll second that.
Well, it's just, I mean, I don't think this is.
No, I think
almost like
this
an
is direction, and I think we actually asked that for
Right.
that last week, was that they were certified by the Florida Bar.
A
Or
member,
in good
they don't have to be,
standing.
be a member of the Florida Bar in good standing. I'm looking at Denise, help me out here for these magic words, as well as a member of the federal bar in the state of Florida, the U.S. District Court.
And I
Okay.
do have that in the job description and the job advertisement, so I will make sure it is included in this paragraph as well.
I mean, it's.
Thank you.
It's obvious here, so, okay.
Okay.
Okay. In doing the research in other counties, and we looked at Broward, Miami-Dade, Orange, and Pinellas, you can see the range of approximately $280,000 to $426,000. The average is $329,000, and the median is $331,000. Currently in Palm Beach County, our current county attorney is earning approximately $300,000, and our current range is $270,000 to $414,000.
Commissioner Weiss, your light is on.
Thank you, Mayor. Question, is that the average or median of what they're actually paying, or is that the average and median of what they offer?
That is the average and median of what they're currently paying.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Powell, you look like you want to ask a question.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Dr. Khan, when you look at the range, and this is for comparable counties, can you tell me what would be considered a comparable county in Florida? Are we looking at in terms of population, in terms of location? What criteria issues? Or better yet, Which
We're looking
counties?
at population, we're looking at the size of the county. We look at the budget of the county.
Which counties?
In this case, we looked at Broward, Miami-Dade, Orange, and Pinellas.
You look at Duval,
We did not.
Hillsborough?
I can add, we can do further research and look at more counties if you'd like.
I would go with the top
I
10
just wanted to
counties.
make sure.
I'm sorry?
See what,
Top 10 counties? Top largest, the 10 largest counties in the state.
Okay.
I think it probably will fall right in that same realm, but I just was inquisitive about which counties in particular. I don't think it's going to be, I don't know, but I don't believe it may be that impactful, but I did want to know which counties were looked at. There may be an outlier. Maybe Duval County is, doing $500,000 or $100,000. We don't know. But I did want to ask that question. What would also be interesting is to look at some of the larger municipalities to see what they're paying their city attorneys. That would be, I don't know if that's necessary per se, but it would be interesting. I know there are some municipalities in Palm Beach County that were paying their city administrator comparable to what we were paying our county administrator at one point. So that's always interesting to see. Not necessary, but just thought I'd throw that out there. Thank you.
Commissioner Sachs.
I think we should also include how large the staff is. I mean, I haven't seen anywhere in here how many attorneys would the chief county attorney be supervising. I think that's important for the person to know. And I would also like to look at, and I apologize, this might have gotten to my office yesterday. I'm looking at it now. But in terms of people coming from private law firms, as I stated before, I don't think anybody should apply if they've ever sued this county. And I guess this is open for discussion. Sometimes you may want to have somebody who sued us. I personally do not, because I think that's sort of a sign of loyalty. But it's open to discussion. So first of all, I think we should definitely include the number of staff that the county attorney will be supervising.
Commissioner, we do include that in the job advertisement.
Oh, you do?
We do. It is on.
Is that when you say please see handout?
It was included in.
Okay.
And the county attorney oversees approximately 30 attorneys and 20 support staff.
Okay, good. Have you included in here anywhere with regard to those lawyers from law firms who have, or those lawyers who have had a lawsuit against the county?
No, but that would be part of the vetting process once they've applied.
I think that we should let people know at the very beginning that and this is open for discussion by my colleagues, not just by me, but I think if someone has sued us, and I think we had a meeting together where we discussed someone who did sue us successfully, we had to pay money, and he was a member of our team, and then he went out, he or she, I don't know who it is, doesn't make any difference. But they went out and sued us. So I think it's open for discussion, that if somebody did have a lawsuit against us, not necessarily for, some issues of employment discrimination, but for issues that were contentious, then I'm not sure we want them to apply.
For clarification, if there is an attorney representing someone that is suing us, I don't think that should preclude them. If it is an attorney representing themselves, I think that would be more in line of what you're asking, because an attorney, you could be hired to represent someone to sue the county. That should not preclude you from applying for the job. You're just doing your job as an attorney representing someone.
Well, I think that's open for discussion. Attorneys don't have to take every case that comes to them. But if and I don't know the answer to this, and maybe you could help us out in your staff, Mr. Khan. Are there certain law firms that have been in the business of suing the county? I don't know. Maybe there aren't, or maybe there are. And I think that should be made known to the commissioners, and then we can have a discussion whether or not we want to open that up to those lawyers who have done that. So maybe we need to get a little more information, if you could, and then we'll discuss it at that time.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you, sir.
Anything else, Commissioner Sachs?
You never know.
I know.
You
Commissioner
never
Flores, how
know.
about if we move on? Commissioner Flores?
I guess my question is, would that be considered discrimination?
If they
If
sue
we
the
put
county.
that as a requirement, that if you've sued us, you can't?
I don't see it as discrimination, but I'll
No?
defer to the county attorney.
I don't see it as discrimination because it's not based on a protected class.
Okay.
Whether it's something this board decides it really wants to consider, I think it might be something you would ask a candidate and let them explain the circumstances and then maybe include that as part of your consideration rather than just ruling them out from the start.
I would be in favor of having a disclosure requirement that if you have had any legal action against the county, you should disclose that initially. So that would be my recommendation there. And my second comment is actually a question to Commissioner Sachs. When you asked the size of the staff, is that part of the comparative salary study? Is that what you want? So when they come back with the top 10 counties as Mayor Marino recommended, do you also want to know staff size for those top 10? Is that the request?
May I respond, Mayor?
Sure.
Okay, the first thing, I like his suggestions, Commissioner Flores' suggestion on asking them to disclose, because maybe they did represent somebody who was, injured or employment discrimination, and I think that would probably be the best way to handle that. To ask for disclosure. Now, if they don't disclose it, and we find out, we'll take certain action. But I think I like that. I like being able to ask for disclosure if they've ever represented someone in a lawsuit against the county, and I would certainly ask that be included. And then the second thing with regard to the number of staff, it's more work, in a sense, to have a large staff, and I think it's important to see. I know Miami-Dade probably has a huge staff. I don't know how many, but they've got a lot of county attorneys in Miami-Dade. I don't think it matters. I think that any of the top counties here would be comparable in terms of, and Duval, Jacksonville. I remember Senator Audrey Gibson from Duval County. So yeah, that'd be good. Any of the top counties would be appropriate at this time. Thank you, Commissioner Flores.
And I guess my last comment is regarding Mayor Marino's comments regarding doing the top 10 research. I'm okay doing the top 10 research, but if we want to move forward, I'm okay also with the data that you provided us here today. I don't know if you can have somebody request Duval in the next 10 minutes while we finish this conversation up. I think they are a comparable county, so that would be good. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Powell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And my question centers back to what Commissioner Sachs brought up, the idea of someone has sued the county, and it also encapsulate what you said, right? So, as an example, someone has worked for, let's say John Doe, has worked for Apple and Lemon Law Firm. And Apple and Lemon sued the county previously, but John Doe just got to the law firm after the lawsuit. But Apple and Lemon have a tendency to go after the county. Do we disqualify John Doe?
No, I think that. Oh, and that's a good point. I know that law firm, by the way.
Yes, yes.
I think what Commissioner Powell said is to have them disclose it. Have them disclose it, and I think that's fair, so that we know. if
Okay.
someone, has made a business out of suing us. But I think that's fair, and then you could pick it up in the interview process. Why'd you sue us? But I think asking folks to disclose it is an appropriate way to find out.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you, Mayor. As it relates to people suing the county, and first off, if somebody sued us and beat us, I might really want them. So I don't see a problem in that. And that, I mean, we had the one situation where we had somebody who had worked for the county attorney's office and designed a policy that then the county did follow, and then when he went into private practice, turned around and sued the county on behalf of a client and created a class action lawsuit. That's an anomaly, and that person is no longer on the earth. And so, but I don't see in general, and honestly, it would be a question I would ask anyways of somebody who was applying if they had been in a lawsuit with the county and just want to know the details of it. So I'm comfortable, if they want to disclose it. If not, I will ask them regardless, so it doesn't matter to me how we handle that. I did have a chance to look up salaries of folks. Duval's an interesting situation because it's a city-county.
Right. Talk about an anomaly.
So, and in 2023, their general counsel is what they call them. It was a Michael Fackler. He was paid $265,000 a year.
What's their population?
Now you're going to have to make me ask another question.
Not to mention their board is made up of like 23
I did also
people.
look up, though, a number of I had a number of the cities that we could find very quickly, and there of 4 of them that we were able to pull their salaries, and so that would be Tampa, their current pay $235. St. Petersburg, $238, Tallahassee, $230, and Orlando, $201. So
That's great info. Thanks.
yeah.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wanted to say I fully support the disclosures, for any kind of lawsuits. And I also do like the point that if they have sued us and won, it might be who we want. They might be pretty good at what they do. So I like the disclosure option the best. Also, I would like, after our very lengthy hiring process for our administrator, which we ended up with the best, in my opinion, I would like us, if you could, staff, and actually maybe this is best for Attorney Kaufman, bring us a list of potential interim attorneys in case we don't get through this process before her resignation date. And I don't necessarily want to set guidelines, but maybe some suggestions would be helpful. Thank you.
Commissioner Powell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And Vice Mayor Baxter just brought up an interesting point with regard to the idea of the interim. Of course, the request to ask Attorney Kaufman to come up with some interims brings about, to me, maybe some challenges due to the fact that we've indicated, it means as a body, because I didn't, but clarification, that whoever is serving as the interim should not be eligible to apply for the full position. If she's, and I'll let her speak to this, if she were to indicate some individuals who she believed would be most suitable to be interim, I would think that she would believe that those individuals more than likely would be great candidates to lead the office once she's gone. Henceforth, we've now handicapped her, or we've put her in a position where if she thinks someone or some people are most suitable to lead the office, she then could not put them on her list to lead the office because those individuals would now be ineligible to apply for the position. It's a catch-22.
Commissioner Powell, may
What a
I?
quagmire. Yes.
So that was the process for the administrator, but I don't think we have, as a board, decided that whoever the interim attorney is automatically disqualified. I believe they are two very separate and individual positions. And to that point especially, I don't think we should just automatically disqualify whoever the interim is
I agree
from
with
being
you.
the permanent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sacks.
Well, if we get an interim and they know all our secrets, we might have a couple, and then they go out and private practice, then they can really sue us. Okay, so I'm just saying, no, maybe not, Ms. Meyer, but has it happened before? Yes, someone has been a member of our team that went out and sued it. So hopefully we'll find somebody before too long. There's a lot of good lawyers out there, and I think we can find someone. What I'd like to do, and to me, I think that you both make very good points, but this is a position where confidences are disclosed. And under the Florida Bar rules, and I'm looking at my other lawyers here, under the Florida Bar of Ethics, if you represent someone, you are then stopped from taking any case against your former client. So either way, we will be handicapping any attorney who comes in as a interim attorney. So hopefully, we will not be in that position. We'll get somebody. That's what I'm looking forward to. I'd like to see, by the way, you have the position is posted on the following sites. And I know you probably didn't think of it, but there's a statewide organization called the Florida Association for Women Lawyers, FAWL.
Fall, yes.
And I know this organization pretty well. It is statewide, and it would be nice if we could also post it on their website as well. That's about it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Flores.
Yeah, I want to touch on the interim. Commissioner Powell just mentioned. I like consistency, and the reason I brought that up as a point to discuss was because we sort of set that rule for the administrator. However, after hearing some feedback from the city attorney and some other individuals that are in my inner trust, my circle of inner trust, they did convey that could handicap a good candidate from actually applying. So that's why I brought that up for discussion, because we used that with the administrator. Now we have assistant administrators at that time, and I thought maybe one of them could pick up where. So for this particular instance, because I've heard that feedback, I am in agreement with not making that person, if they're interim, they can apply. So I'm okay with that moving forward.
Thank you. Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you. I didn't think we were at this point in the presentation to talk about interim, but that's okay since we've gone there. I just want to share with the board, I spoke to our previous county attorney, Denise Neiman, and she has indicated she would be willing to serve as our interim if we need one. And so I think that's a great option as somebody who is aware of how this office runs and obviously familiar with Florida law. She's only been gone for a few years. So just wanted to share that with my colleagues since we are in public and I can say that here. So anyways, she said she would be very happy to serve if we needed her.
Thank you. And I also actually spoke with Ms. Neiman last night on her way to Paris. And she was very helpful. She answered a lot of my questions, them being what makes you say yes to being interim and not wanting to continue this job, and her family and the lifestyle that she's living right now would afford her about a 3-month window if that were the case, and would appease a lot of people in the we don't know if we want the interim to serve as the permanent and what's the conflict. So we, suffice it to say, we have options right now. So, and that's always, we're always better when we have options. Commissioner Powell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I like that we talk about consistency, and I want to remain consistent as I did in my comments with regard to the administrative pool. I don't believe in going backward. I think that the former county attorney, of course, was a different county attorney who managed different staff, had a different team, and this county attorney has a different staff and a different team. So I always believe in moving forward. I think that, and even if we were going to move forward, and I want to be clear without offending anyone, to have the conversation with the former county attorney prior to, I didn't hear anyone say if they had asked the current county attorney if she'd be willing to stay a little bit longer if necessary until we got someone. That to me is problematic, and I don't know if they asked you that. I don't know if anybody asked you that, but I just don't like the idea of ever going backward and saying, well, we can always go back to what we had to get to where we want to go. Sometimes you have to take 2 steps back to go forward, but in these cases, I just like to move forward. I like to drill right through to where we need to go. And if we had to get an interim that was somebody in-house or someone else, or even the current, I would like to do that. But to go backwards, to me, it's my opinion that I just don't think that's the best or most suitable way to go. And I also am often taken aback when those conversations are prematurely held without the knowledge of everybody else on the board, that we're going to go and ask somebody else from the past if they'd be willing to come. If we were to sit here today and say maybe we should ask, then I would be in agreement. But to do that without the rest of us, I'm trying to say find an eloquent way to say I don't like that.
How about this? It was a phone call that I received, not one that I made. Okay. And secondly, I don't think we're just trying to explore all the options that we have possible for us. And again, yes, I haven't spoken with Attorney Kaufman to see if she would be willing to stay past her date. I don't know if there was a formula for which she picked her day. This would be a discussion. This would be a question for Attorney Kaufman to answer. But all we're doing right now is trying to figure out as many options as we can. It wouldn't behoove us if we didn't. So the conversation was one of me answering a phone call and someone volunteering because of their love for the county. Same as Bob Weissman called me when we were going through the process earlier for the administrator and said, Maria, if you need help, I'd be willing to do that. So people are reaching out. We've had some attorneys that are actually interested in the job themselves already calling us. So we're fielding all the phone calls and we're trying to give the best answers possible. We're not promising anybody anything because individually we can't do that. This is something we do as a group. So I'm just gathering information, and the best way we can do that is get as much as we can. Having said that, Attorney Kaufman, you're now on the hot seat.
Well, I have filed my retirement, so I don't know that it's an option for me to change that date.
Okay. December
19th.
December 19th. Okay, so going back to letting people respond to this, Commissioner Weiss, you put your light on in response to this discussion, so would you like to continue? And Commissioner Powell, your light is now off, so are you complete? Thank you.
I appreciate my colleague's comments and his desire to move forward. I do take umbrage with of not reaching out. I think as a part of this body, I feel like it's my duty, if I have opportunity, to reach out and try and understand what options we might have, try and be prepared, and I just like to know, what options may exist out there. So while I understand you have a different opinion, I think it just behooves, it was my personal decision. It doesn't bind this body to anything, and I try and do the research before I get here as to different issues, and so this was one, and I knew there was a potential that we may need an interim, and I wanted to know what options, at least one option that we had. So if that caused discomfort or unhappiness, I apologize for that, but it was simply trying to be prepared and trying to have options for this body to consider if needed. So,
Thank you. Vice Mayor Baxter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think experience is always important in these jobs, and it's hard with a county this size and this amount of employees and amount of staff and the ordinances and regulations that we have so many of them, that I understand where Commissioner Powell is coming from and wanting to move forward, but also finding somebody who doesn't want the job permanently, who also understands what the job entails, is a very rare individual. I have called Denise Neiman a few times throughout the years to ask for legal opinions regarding county things that I didn't quite understand, and she comes to events, and she's still involved with the South Florida Fair. She's still a part of the community. So I don't see that I would disqualify her as an interim, but the reason I asked for Attorney Kaufman's advice is because she would know who the best attorneys are within her department. I don't want to close off options, is what I'm saying. Whether it is other attorneys within the county or whether it is the previous county attorney, I think they should be options. Now, with that being said, we are here in September. December 19th is 3 months away. I'm hoping that an interim isn't necessary. I'd like us to get through this process and find our permanent and move towards the future. I think the interim that I had brought it up initially just as a backup plan. If we had someone in place in case this did not get concluded within the next 90 days or so. So that's all I wanted to say and conclude. Thank you.
More options are better than less. Commissioner Powell, and then we'll go to Commissioner Sachs.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And to piggyback off of both Commissioner Weiss, yourself, and the Vice Mayor, I do think that's a conversation with regard to, and I would prefer to have a holistic, comprehensive conversation with regard to if we're going to look at an interim, if we're going to, it's my personal preference never to go backwards. But if we were to have that conversation abroad and to discuss that in detail and to have a better understanding. Additionally, I think Mr. Khan in his presentation has set up a timeline, if I'm not mistaken, that should allow us to have a new county attorney prior to the exit of Attorney Kaufman. So if we could, can we just verify that time frame to make sure that I'm not mistaken there?
In doing that, we haven't had the conversation yet about whether you'd like a search firm or not. That was part of the conversation from last week. But that being said, with the time frame that one possible time frame would be the job being posted this week, keeping it open until October 17th, and then coming back to the board on the 21st with more information on the number of people who have applied. And you'll see in other slides questions about the interview process and how we want to go about narrowing the field once people have applied, but we would have a better idea on October 21st about how many people were interested and qualified.
Thank you. We have a couple more lights on. I think our charge for today is really to come up what we want to do with the actual hiring of the attorney. And I think if we can get through that today, the interim discussion can take place at our next meeting. And the reason I say that is because we'd actually like to put ourselves in the position of not having to hire an interim. So if we could get today's, we're already at 12 o'clock, if we could get through the presentation, because there is more information in the presentation, I think that would behoove us. So having said that, I have 4 lights on. Would everybody like to continue their questions now? Commissioner Woodward, go right ahead.
Thank you. I haven't made a comment yet, but I would like to piggyback on what you said. I think for us to decide on the interim today is maybe
premature.
Yes. She said premature. I agreed. What I would like, because we were doing the presentation here, the question is, I think the next thing please could the board decide, do we want to use a search firm or do we want to do the process without a search firm and then start answering those questions? So is that something I can ask right now? Can we decide which of the next 2 options? Because there's a number of questions to be answered here. Do we want to do a search firm? Do we not? Are we ready to answer that?
Let's do there. That's like two more slides.
No, that's the next slide.
So we haven't done the advertisement yet, and we're still on salary. Are we okay with the salary range? Do we want to move on from this slide? Would be my question.
I'm good with the salary range.
Everyone go to the salary? Okay, we're done with that slide. Actually, before we can do the hiring of the search firm, we need to come up with what's the information we want to give the search firm, which is what would be at the bottom would be this one, the advertisement. Now, I still have lights on. Do you want to let the discussion continue, or do you want to comment now? And Commissioner Sachs, you would be next.
Thank you very much. It's, and absolutely, we're going to table the issue of an interim because, Dr. Khan, you're going to be able to get this moving quickly. Whatever it is, you're going to start advertising ASAP according to your records. And I don't see there's any reason to cross that bridge till we get to it. So yeah, let's move on with this and table that until it's absolutely necessary.
Vice Mayor.
Agree with tabling the interim conversation. I'm going to comment on the firm because that's the next step, it seems like, other than the advertisement. But the advertisement just comes down to, I believe, the qualifications and the salary, correct?
It's qualifications, salary, and then a little information about the county, which I took from our county administrator advertisement.
And you had already gone over the qualifications, and I think we were all in agreement.
That was the same as what we saw in the presentation. Yes.
Qualifications and eligibility on page 4 of the presentation. In the draft.
In your draft, does it say?
I need to
Florida
update
Bar?
those qualifications based on our conversation.
Okay, so what Commissioner Sachs added earlier about the Florida Bar
That will be in here.
judicial, that will be added to this
Yes.
draft? Okay.
Perfect.
Other than
That
I'm
has
good
been
with
added to the
draft.
job description that I gave you, so.
Yeah, it says necessary special requirement, current member in good standing with State Bar of Florida, but the additional ones would be added there.
Yes.
Okay. And then as far as firms go, I don't want to hire a firm if we have enough applicants through. I do like the idea of the website that Commissioner Sachs had suggested that we also post it to. I do like the idea of sending it out to FAC, which I believe Mayor Marino had said. Send it out to
I would say whatever
usual-
associations in the state of Florida that
Correct.
are attorney related. I mean, last night I was at the Jewish Lawyers Association, which is basically a newer formed association here in the county. So there are several, there's as you said, female attorneys. There's another Cunningham Association, I can't remember, can't remember what that one is, but there are plenty of associations in the state of Florida that are legally related attorneys. So that would be, I think, the direction that the board would like to take at this time would be if we don't have to hire someone from out, we would just be able to do it this way.
And you have them on page 10, it looks like,
Yes.
of the presentation.
Yeah.
There, perfect. Yeah, so I don't think hiring a firm is necessary, my opinion. And then other than hiring a firm, the timeline that you had shown us briefly, I'm good with that. Were there any other questions that you had?
Yes, on the advertisement, one of the requirements that we have of the county administrator is that they reside in the county. Not necessarily when they're applying for the job, but once they've accepted the job. Is that something that you would like for this position as well?
Yes. Looks like everyone's nodding yes.
Okay.
I think once the job offer was made and accepted, yes, there would be a time frame of maybe a year in which they would, and if you look at administrators and city managers, there usually is some sort of once you're hired, you have to be within the city limits of, within a year or something of that nature. I think that would be, because it's not going to be all that easy to find a place in Palm Beach County.
Okay. All right, so.
Vice Mayor, did you have any more questions or
The only thing I
comments?
would add to that is I understand wanting them in this county. I would say close. Like, I don't want somebody working for us trying to live out of Tallahassee. But, I mean, would we really oppose somebody living in Martin County or Broward County?
Yes, I'm sorry.
And
Absolutely. You can't be a public official unless you live in the county in which you can vote. And I think that if we say Martin County, Hendry County, fine. But what if it's Dade County?
may I?
Or what if it's?
But are they public officials or are they employees?
They're public servants. Public servants. And which county are you going to exclude?
Not
You're gonna
exclude, I'm just saying
Orange
neighboring
County, maybe?
counties.
But look, this is a county attorney. This is a county. We are the best county of 67 counties. If they don't find enough interest to live here, and have their family here and buy a house here, then I don't know if I want them. And that's just the way, that's my, and yes, Commissioner Weiss, that is my personal opinion. I don't think I'd hire somebody who wants to represent the county and not live in the county.
May I? Just
Go right ahead.
having a public conversation. So what if we find somebody who's really great that already lives in Martin County, right on the border, let's say, and they don't want to have to relocate 10 miles south to live in Palm Beach County?
I'd say move. You love this county, you're gonna represent this county, you're gonna pay taxes in this county. So,
okay,
come and move and be part of this beautiful paradise. And if you don't think it's so good, apply in Martin County. I don't think you're gonna make the salary in Martin County, you would in Palm Beach. But yeah, I want them to see how tough housing is and our prices at the grocery store, and to love this county as much as we all love this county. So that's my, it's up to the commissioners, but as far as this commissioner is the best county to live in, you're gonna represent us, you're gonna live here.
I am not hard set either way, but she feels very passionately about this, so let's go with it.
I think it gives us more stability and influence if our leaders do live within the county. They are registered voters within our county. They have a stake in what our budget is. And I know that a lot of municipalities do the same thing with their their city administrator, but not necessarily with their lawyers. But it's always nice when you're sitting up here and you're saying, we're not the only people that are designing the budget. And other people here that are helping us design that budget are also people that are going to have to pay and going to have to do their taxes. So I would agree that I think they should live within the county within a certain time frame. Not immediately, because it takes more than 30 days to find a house and buy a house in this county. So I would agree with, at some point in time, they should be a occupant of Palm Beach County. Commissioner Flores and then Commissioner Weiss.
First of all, I would like to continue on the presentation. I mean, we've jumped all over the place, so would love to go through this. I am not in favor of the search firm, but I would like to hear what you have to say about that. And regarding living here, I think it should be a must within 1 year of taking on the job. I think if you work for the county, you need to be vested in the county. So that's my sentiments. I echo everything that Commissioner Sachs just said.
Thank you. Commissioner Weiss.
So I'd like to, since we're jumping around, but I would like to understand, and if we're not going to do it at this meeting, I do want to understand search firms. I understand you have them on contract and what it would cost if they were to find somebody for us. So I think it's important that we have all the information. And at this point, we have zero on that. So I would ask that we get that if that isn't part of your presentation today. As it relates to where people live, I think that's and I hate to use the word slippery slope, but we have lots and lots of employees that work for this county that do not live here in Palm Beach County. And for a variety of reasons. They may be married to somebody else, or married to somebody. I obviously would be married to somebody else, but be married to somebody who also has employment. And, where they decide to put their residence, that's a personal decision. I think it's preferable, so people have less of a commute. But I don't think it should be a disqualifier for somebody. I think and at what level, where do you stop that? Is it only for the highest jobs here? Or is it for any administrator, any department head? Because this is a head of a department, although I guess they have additional responsibilities as county attorney, and they are one of 3 people that we hire. But we did not make that a requirement of our auditor. So he doesn't live in the county, and he has a family, and there's reasons why people will not move, and I don't think it should preclude. As I said, it's preferential, but if they, as my colleague said, if they live over the border in Martin County, people are invested, and there could be tax consequences that they have to face that would preclude them for wanting to apply for this job. So I think more flexibility that we have, the more likely we are to get the best person, and we at that point, if you feel like the issue of where they live is overshadows their qualifications or their ability to do the job, then don't hire them. But to not consider somebody seems a little.
What to make them move.
Yeah, it seems a little much, but everybody has their own opinion on that. But I want to see the widest body of people we can, the most qualified people, and get the best person for the job. That's what I believe my responsibility is.
Okay, I have no more lights on. How about we finish the presentation?
Okay. Just to finalize that, are we saying that it's required and within a year, or are we saying it's preferred?
Preferred.
Preferred, okay. Thank you.
A roll call vote on preferred versus required? Do we?
You don't vote on it.
This is.
Consensus.
It is consensus. So, Commissioner Flores, how do you feel?
They should live in the county. They should live in the county within a year.
Commissioner Sachs?
Yeah, I agree with Commissioner Flores. At least within a year, or by the time they get their first paycheck. You'd be surprised how quickly people get moved. No, I mean, it's not something that I'm going to, argue vehemently for. But I do think that they should make a strong effort within a year to move and be part of our community.
So preferred or required?
Required. Within a year. Give them time to move within a year.
Commissioner Woodward?
Required within a year.
Commissioner Powell?
Preferred, and it depends, right? If they live in Alachua County, it's a no. But if they live in Martin County, I'm not going to die on that hill. It's preferred.
Commissioner Weiss?
Preferred.
Vice Mayor?
Preferred.
And I think Vice Mayor Baxter brought up a good point, as did Commissioner Weiss. We do not know the circumstances of somebody's situation. They may have their kids in a school, maybe they're a senior or a junior. Their spouse might be working in the northernmost county, and they may, So I think it would be, in my instance, it would be preferred. Obviously, it's strongly preferred that they, move to the county. But there are some unforeseen circumstances, and I do know there's other counties and cities that make a requirement of you have to be within, a half an hour of the seat of the municipal, whatever the government is, so that you can be here on a moment's notice. So I would go with preferred. Commissioner Woodward, your light is on.
Would the board then at least amend it to require that it is a bordering county and not coming from much further away?
I would just, I think I would.
Or
stick
within
with
a certain amount? I mean, are we going to take someone from Orlando? Are we going to, because they can take Brightline every day. I mean, what are we talking about?
This would all be part of the hiring
It would be
process. I
part
think
of the
we're getting-
hiring
I think
process,
we're
and you
getting
make the
waylaid here.
decision then.
We could choose not to hire them if they lived in Orlando.
If we say Martin County or St. Lucie, then how about Hendry? Something wrong with Hendry County? No, what I'm saying is this. If I'm going to hire somebody, and I'm getting pretty serious about it. If we're going to hire somebody to work and represent Palm Beach County government, what would the reason be? And maybe we want to do a point system. Maybe y'all want to do like, this person gets 10 points for being a member of these bar associations. They get 10 points for being a resident of Palm Beach County and paying taxes here. But I don't want to, I wouldn't hire an attorney who does it for the government. It's not for the people, it's for the government, who doesn't live in the county. It just doesn't, to me, it doesn't make any sense to me. And if they're going to represent the county, and why would they not live here if they represent the county? So I would certainly, and if the consensus is preferred, I will question them as to why they don't live in the county that they wish to represent. And that's it. They want to represent us. Why would you not live here? And that's my vote on it.
Thank you. So it's four out of the 7 voted for preferred.
Yes.
And obviously, it will be something that will be discussed during their interview process. So thank you. What other questions do you have for us?
Okay.
So actually, hold on. Search firm. There we go.
Yes.
Search firm.
Okay.
Commissioner Weiss why don't you give us some ideas of what it would cost us to hire a search firm? We can go forward today without a search firm, and if we feel the need for one, we can revisit if that would be okay with the board.
I can get those costs for you.
That would be great. Thank you very much.
And then additionally, the Florida Association of County Attorneys does provide recruitment services, including peer review services, and that's approximately $5,000.
That's $5,000 well served. Commissioner Powell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Dr. Khan, can you tell me, just for, and you don't have to tell me if you don't know, for the record, where these firms are based out of? Garcia Legal Search, Barker Gilmore. Is that Garcia Legal Search, Barker Gilmore, Major Lindsay, and Africa, or Empire Search Partners? Are those separate? What's going on here?
Yeah, there are 3 firms here.
Okay.
So, and this is just from a general internet search of firms that specialize in high-level attorneys. Obviously, if we were going to go down the path of a search firm, we would need to open it up to an RFP and have firms apply.
Unlike the county administrative search, we don't have a open contract with the search firm already for the county attorney?
Not one that specializes in this type of position.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Commissioner Woodward, then Commissioner Weiss.
So just to be clear, what the Florida Association of Counties offers is not exactly a search firm. It's more of, it would be a way for us to help vet the candidates that we get.
They provide a number of different services. That's one of them.
What was the $5,000 for?
The $5,000 is just their general contract to work on a recruitment.
Is there additional fee after the 5?
Not that I saw in their contract, but we would need to open up conversations with them to explore that further.
It would be helpful to know what that $5,000 would get us, if it's basically just kind of providing us guidance on narrowing the pool of applicants, or is it I mean, I don't think I have an understanding of what that $5,000 would pay for. But it's not a search firm, right?
They're not a search firm.
Okay, so would be almost a hybrid where we would do what we did last time, but then have a little assistance from the Florida Association of County Attorneys?
That's how I'm envisioning it. Would be, we do the recruitment, we collect the resumes, we vet out the people who do not meet our minimum qualifications. We would then give it to this group, and they would give us the recommendation on the top, whatever number is decided by the.
Would this be almost, because last time we formed a citizen task force, would this be in substitution of that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, if that's the case for that, I would be in support of using this firm, doing what we did last time, and just replacing the task force with this group.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, continuing, if we did not, without using a search firm, we've talked about this slide and some of the job sites and professional associations to post the position, including our advertisement. We would set up an email system similar to what we did for the county administrator for them to provide their resume. That would be open through October 17th. And then on the 20th, I would be reviewing for a list of eligible applicants. And the next day is a commission meeting where I would present the number of eligible candidates who have submitted for the position. And we would, if this is the path we'd like to use, then I'm just looking for dates on this slide about how long you would want the vetting process to take place and then when you would want to do interviews. And and my next two slides are how to narrow down the pool, and if it sounds like we already have some direction there. And then how would you like the interview process to be organized? And I'd fill out the rest of this calendar with that information.
Suggestions? Commissioner Woodward, Commissioner Flores, and then Vice Mayor Baxter. Oh, Commissioner Flores.
Yeah, I would like to keep it internal. I would like there to be some sort of local task force to review candidates. And if we want to hire the Association of Counties to vet the candidates and to market, I'm okay with that. But I think there should be locally led. I think we all know experts in the legal field that we can name to this board. And it feels like we have plenty of time to get through that process based on your calendar. You're saying this would close on the 17th of October, which is about a month out. That gives us about 2 months to be able to have a task force go through, score however we want them to score those, and then bring us a recommendation by the beginning of December. So I think they'll have 6-7 weeks to work on this. I would be in favor of having a locally led task force.
Commissioner Woodward.
Okay. Using this calendar, I support what you have here, and then I would recommend us using the FACA as the task force. This is a very specialized vetting process, and having them do that for us. And then I don't know how much time they would typically require. It'd be nice to hear from them on, is it like 2 weeks? Or I'm sure it depends on the number of applicants as well. But maybe we plan for getting this to come to us the first week of November, just because we know that there will be negotiations for the contract for this person. They will need to give notice for their job. And, if we push it to November, we will definitely need an interim. And I mean, there's Thanksgiving in here. There's a number of holidays that are coming up through all of this. I would like, my opinion, if we could get it around the first week of November, where we are doing our interview process. So that gives us, 6 weeks before Ms. Kaufman's last day. That would give us enough time to actually have a new attorney in before she leaves. So that would be my recommendation.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Baxter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm not in favor of a local task force because of timing. I think it would take too long. We'd then have to have more meetings and pick people, or I would love to get this done without an interim within the next 90 days. I like the idea of the interim for the administrator because it wasn't an attorney. Like, to the idea of having an attorney, a group of qualified attorneys helping pick a qualified attorney, it seems better to me. So that's kind of where I stand on that. I like the idea of us deciding most things, but I don't know that I feel qualified to pick somebody who then has to be qualified enough to pick somebody. I don't know about that. So I do like the idea of the first week in November, giving that 6 week. And will that be enough time for contracts and negotiations? And
If we're doing the interviews the first week of November, and it's similar to the interview process from the county administrator, and we did that in 2 days, one day doing one-on-ones, and the second day being the public interview, that leaves another 4 to 5 weeks to finalize the contract.
And I like that, the idea we can meet with them one-on-one and then have it public for everyone to watch and participate in.
Okay.
I like that. Were there any other process questions that I'm leaving out that you had?
I'm sure I'll think of some, but I think this gives us a good place to start.
Thank you.
Commissioner Weiss and then Commissioner Powell.
Thank you. While we were having this discussion, I went online and looked up the FOC, what they call it, County Attorney Recruitment Services. And so they've got in here, I mean, they've got a whole set of things that they've already put in place. They've got a document that goes through their work plan and approach and how they do it. But they apparently assign a reviewer to help the county or city looking for assistance. I think it would probably be a good idea for your office to look at this. I don't know how it integrates in. I didn't go through it in detail, but I don't know how it integrates in with the timeline you're proposing to be able to utilize it, but it does. They put together a team of people to help review, I guess, these, or review the applicants and to help vet them out, which when we're talking about somebody who is, and I think, I can't remember who made the comment, an administrator is although a very important job, doesn't have the specialized skills, or not skills, the specialized training, I think, that an attorney does. So, it's more of a general manager, although understanding the county attorney is also a manager of staff. I think it's sent for $5,000. It seems like a good investment to make if it does work out for us. And other than that, if it does, great. If it doesn't, I guess we'll be on our own. I also agree. I'm not sure. I do not want to have local people or create another committee I just don't see we have the time to do that. I think in general too, you'd really need people who are city or county attorneys really to do it. I know our former county attorney is involved in helping Martin County. Martin County is right now hiring a new county attorney. So, and I believe our previous county attorney is part of that process. So we need to find people who really understand that.
Thank you. Commissioner Powell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think it's already been brought up that perhaps we should find the cost of these search firms. But in addition to that, the fact idea, I like it's relatively inexpensive. And when we talk about creating a board, like my colleagues, I don't know if I want to go through that exercise, although I do have binders full of attorneys. Binders. I mean, I know a lot of attorneys. I mean, I know a lot of attorneys there. I know one on this board, but it would probably be easier. But what I do want to, I would like to suggest, similar to the process of hiring our county administrator, I would like to do those one-on-one interviews once we whittle it down to a manageable number. I don't know if that would be 7, 10, whatever is manageable for us to have. 10 is probably a bit much to have one-on-one interviews. But I did rather enjoy the opportunity to get to interface with those who had applied and to match personality and questions and have interpersonal communication without, the public, it's the public persona or perception you have to, it's a lot more interpersonal, a lot more easier to discuss and talk to someone one-on-one than it is when we're interviewing them on some type of panel, as if, it's a campaign, and they're almost competing against each other. I'd prefer that we did have the opportunity to have that whittled down in the one-on-one communication and our personalities to see if this person, attorneys, if they work with the entirety of the board. There's 7 different personalities up here that they have to work with, and we should get that opportunity to interface. I would like it, once we get past the whittling down of how many candidates, we did have the opportunity to interface with them in personal interviews prior to the selection. And I know you've got time built in to be able to do that, so I would like that part.
I agree.
Okay. And then the question will be, how many people would you like to get to that phase? But we can also discuss that once we know how many people have applied and are eligible.
Yeah, let's see what we receive. And, we do have pretty specific qualifications for this. So let's see what we receive, and we can, pick a number between, 5 and 10. But once we know what we get, it'll be better. And as for having the individual interviews like we did with the county administrator, I think that's important so that we can speak freely to whoever it is we're interviewing. So,
Okay.
have we covered everything? What is left?
I'm good if you are.
No more lights on. Okay, we're good.
All right.
Thank you. So you've got enough direction on this?
Yes, ma'am. Thank
Okay,
you.
perfect. We've got a couple more things on our agenda to finish, just small stuff. And why don't we go ahead and do that? Board appointments is next on our agenda. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Okay, we've got a couple, little bug in my ear said Shannon is here and wanted to talk about the what we talked about earlier today about prompt pay of bills. And before we do that, yes, I do agree. We do have one more item on our agenda, board appointment for facilities development and operations. And Amy withdrew, so actually Andrea Levine O'Rourke is the only person left. So Andrea, do you want to just come up to the podium and say hello and thank you? And then we'll, do we need a vote since there is only one person? I think you've been appointed.
Well,
or
thank you.
anointed.
Andrea Levine O'Rourke, thank you very much. I do understand the legislative process, so I was able to sit through and really understand it as I served on Boca Raton City Council for 6 years until I was termed out. So, but my background has always been my love for art, culture, and seeing that is so important to the economics of a city that it's really been the one initiative that's been in my heart. I wanted to be an artist, but I was better as an art advocate. So that's what I've done, and I left the legacy in the city of Boca Raton with a public art department. That was one of my really favorite things I did. So thank you very much, and I look forward to serving on the Public Art Board in the county. Thank you so much.
And on advice of our attorney, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? See that motion carries, even though no one made the motion?
I move to approve.
Okay.
Andrea
so-
Levine O'Rourke.
No, actually, well, you know what? We're going to give the motion to Commissioner Woodward and the second to
you.
the Vice Mayor. All in favor, all opposed, see the motion carries 7-0.
Thank you so much, and thank you all the commissioners and mayor and everyone. And thank you, Commissioner Woodward, for suggesting it. I appreciate it. I look forward to it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I do want to say, Ms. Levine O'Rourke, I did get your email, so thank you for emailing and communicating, and I support you. Of course, we all support you now, so thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're now on to Shannon. Where are you? Prompt pay.
Thank you, Mayor. Vice Mayor Baxter. Always between you and lunch, by the way, Commissioner, so I'll be brief once again. Commissioners, Administrator Abruzzo. We were listening to the conversation earlier, and I thought if I could, just in a minute or so, provide a little bit of information, because payments for the county obviously are a two-part equation, right? And often when we're talking about payment times, I'm a little sensitive to it after 28 years in the clerk's office. It's often our office that folks look at because we make your payments and say, what's the delay, clerk? Why haven't you made the payments?
It's the submittal.
Right. So right now, average turnaround on a payment from our office is 5 days. Max 7 days when you're talking about a more complicated, usually facilities type contract, and often if you've seen those, they're about yay high. A lot of the issue from the county side is really hard to pinpoint, and I'll tell you why. Paper. So vendors often are not presenting you with proper invoices. The quantities don't match, the service doesn't match, they haven't provided the service, and until there's actually what's considered under statute a proper invoice, the clock doesn't tick. But we can't figure out often in the process where it's at. So there's a lot of going, back and forth between vendors and departments long before our office. What we have instituted in the clerk's office is OnBase. We use a document management system. So invoices that do come in directly to us, we do scan in the system. We're paperless. If you come through finance, you'll find a completely paperless payables department. We can tell you anywhere it is within the process, what it's waiting for approval from who, when it's received in our office. We're also usually using RPA, and I know I'm touting the clerk's office a little bit, but again, it's a countywide system, and so we do like to bring to you. We're using robotic process automation in finance, similar to what we're doing in courts. So we have robots that are extracting information from your invoices, and it's interfaced into the Advantage system. That's why we can move in 5 days. Really, to get a handle on where the delay is, we have some examples, but in order to get a really good handle on the delay, we're going to need to engage in an automated system, or we're not really getting to where the issue is. So we have offered and continue to volunteer to offer to partner with the county, certainly with Administrator Abruzzo, to work with the county to try to integrate the doc management system and some of those efficiencies. But we do understand the concern with vendors and vendor payments along the way. So we're doing our part to try to get those payments out as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam.
Before I go to the Vice Mayor, Administrator Abruzzo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It is my intent to fully integrate OnBase in the systems that I worked on at the clerk on the county side. These have been conversations that we've been having with county administration for years. Have some good connections on the clerk side, so and understand the process. So I have a feeling once our staff gets abreast and on board, we'll be able to move quickly.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Well, Mr. Administrator, you just stole my question. But yes, that's exactly what I was going to ask, is are we working towards this? I know different departments, even the DMV has a data system where they can upload some paperwork to get certain things, and it does manage it better. And it also lets people know what's outstanding without waiting for that, interpersonal relationship with somebody. To make it more automated just seems much better. So thank you for already working on this.
Thank you. And I think, Shannon, you did say one thing that's really important. It also has to do with, has the work been verified and how many departments need to verify the work? If we could speed that process up, then we might be, your process is fast. So it is on the county side as to verification and invoicing and whatnot. So we need to put both of those processes together. Thank you, Shannon.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, if we go through the rest of this really quickly, we can get out here in time for lunch. Okay, staff comments. Do I have it? Okay. Commission district appointments. Thank you. Okay, Commissioner Flores, do you have any district appointments? Commissioner Sachs.
Yes, I do. I have for the Educational Facilities Authority, I would like to recommend Ashley Fetting, Fetting, for that position, which is in District 5.
Thank you very much. Any others?
No, not at this time.
Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you, Mayor. For the Palm Beach County Sports Commission, I would like to reappoint Doug Mosley. And for the Personal Appeals Board, reappoint Terrence Smolev. And for the Planning Commission, I am appointing Carl Anthony Klepper.
Thank you very much. Vice Mayor, any appointments?
No, ma'am.
Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to appoint Carlos Sedanos to the Water Utility Advisory Board.
Thank you. Commissioner Powell, any appointments? And I have none at this time. Thank you for reminding me of that. Okay, now we are on to staff comments. Any additional administration comments? Joe, that would be you.
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thank you, ma'am.
I'll say it for him if you want.
County Attorney? Thank you. Do we have any commissioners that have board direction that they'd like to talk about? Commissioner Woodward, your light is on.
Thank you. I would just like to actually clarify previous board direction from this board regarding Tri-Rail. We had a workshop, was it last month? I'm losing track of time. It was a few weeks ago. And the conversation that was had with the counties and FDOT, as I understood the board direction, we were instructing them, we're not coming up with any extra money this year, none was actually asked for this year, but to begin the conversations with FDOT for what does future years of additional funding from each county look like in regards to operations, not paying for the line or the rail, but are we open to having a conversation with FDOT that we can incrementally increase our contribution to Tri-Rail moving forward in the next fiscal years? What does that look like? I got hard numbers from Tri-Rail on the operation, and it looks like the total amount, if FDOT were to come back with the $49 million, which we believe is their statutory requirement, and we passed a resolution earlier in this agenda for that amount, that leaves a gap of $35 million total, which is 11.7 per county. And not that I'm asking us, do we come up with that next year, but are we willing to have negotiations with FDOT on getting closer to that amount over the coming years? Or are we saying, no, we will only pay the 4.2 that we are currently paying, and that is all, and if FDOT doesn't come with more, then Tri-Rail goes away in 27. That's kind of where we are. The conversation that was had with FDOT, I believe it was communicated no more, which it does not actually put us as being partners we were talking about being partners or that we are negotiating. I understood it that we should be into negotiating and what does that look like in the future. I think we need to clarify that because what was communicated was that we are not willing to come forward with any money at all in the future. Anybody?
Commissioner, no, hold on a second. Administrator Bruzzo, your light is on. Would you like to? No? Okay. I'm actually going to comment. I think let me preface this by saying if Tri-Rail goes away, that's way, way, way too many cars on the road, and it's going to cost the taxpayers a whole lot more money to try to figure out a way to move those people. I do see us working with FDOT. We've already committed. We've budgeted the 4.2 million. I think incrementally, if we, like anything else in this world, everything is going up. Incrementally, if there is some formula that we can come up with, I would support that. I don't see Tri-Rail going away again because we just don't have the room on the roads for the folks that are on the trains. Nor do we have a less expensive way to move folks around that need to go south or go north. So I would support Commissioner Woodward in her efforts on this to continue the dialogue with FDOT. As for the dividing the 49 million between the 3 counties and FDOT not coming up with any money, that's a hard no. So I think that might clarify my position. Commissioner Flores and then Commissioner Sachs.
Yeah, I think we definitely need to be at the table negotiating with Tri-Rail. But I think everything should be on the table when we negotiate, including monetizing and being able to advertise, providing concessions, bringing in vendors to improve the experience. You improve the experience, you make some money while you're at it. Hopefully we won't have to come up with the $11 million. Maybe we can reduce that. But it will also increase ridership. And it would also, I encourage Tri-Rail to also look at how do you improve revenues. But it has to be in partnership. I mean, we can't do it by ourselves because from the presentation that we received a month ago, it sounded like we're handicapped in what Tri-Rail can actually do. And they should also look at negotiating the use of that line with the other individuals that also utilize the line. So I am in favor of the direction that Commissioner Woodward is coming or asking for. When it comes for us to take on the entire burden of Tri-Rail, absolutely not.
Thank you. Commissioner Sachs.
And thank you, Commissioner, both commissioners on either side, for furthering this conversation. Mr. Von Laren, that was an excellent presentation we had. It was lengthy, it was comprehensive, but at the end of the day, we really need somebody from maybe the Department of Commerce, along with FDOT, to discuss the future of Tri-Rail. Because if we're going to get into negotiations with Tri-Rail, then the state is either in or out. And if they're out, and it's going to be our investment, I think Commissioner Flores has a good point to monetize it and make money from it, as other rails do. But if the state is in, then let's move forward with possibly improving it as their partner. So I thank Commissioner Woodward for bringing it up. It was it was almost like truncated, you know. It's like, now where's the money going to come from? And if it doesn't, and if we are truly a partner at the table, we need to set the table again, get back on this conversation. Thanks, Mr. Von Laren.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm in favor of privatizing as much of Tri-Rail as possible. And I would like to know what the possibilities are when it comes to the potential for doing that. I'd like us to improve the collections and how we can collect the dollars for a lot of people riding it that don't pay. I would also like to see us improve if we cannot privatize most of it, the vendors, and privatize those and see who would want to participate or help make it a better experience. We fund this for currently a little over $4 million. I'm not in favor of coming up with a formula to just naturally give it an increase year after year. We vote on a budget every year for a reason. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know where the market will be. We can't predict the future. So I don't like the idea of a formula going forward. If we've already funded on a recurring basis a little over $4 million, I would support that and not any increase. I do hope that, and I do believe we have a great state, and hopefully they will come back and they will pay or help pay for the rail. So we'll see how that goes. I do not want to jump to any conclusions until that's solidified, but that's where I stand.
Thank you. Commissioner Weiss.
Yeah, I have no problem sitting down and trying to talk to somebody and see if we can come to an appropriate conclusion. So,
Todd, I think you have great direction on this.
We do. And just very briefly, to the points that you brought up, those were communicated to DOT and the Tri-County area on contracts, on existing vendors, on other users of the system, monetizing the system. So we put those across the table to DOT in our conversation. I think the difference was we said, look, we were going to focus on the strategy going to the legislature and asking them to fix what they did last session. And we thought that we had a nice opener from the Speaker of the House on doing that. But I think to Commissioner Woodward's point, we can continue to be at the table with them and have those conversations of what that looks like in 27, 28, and 29 going forward. So I'm happy to take that additional. It's a very clear direction. Thank you.
Go ahead, Commissioner Woodward.
And thank you. And just to wrap it up, this conversation with FNOT it's not about us promising any fixed dollar amount, but that we are coming to the table with them, working towards a solution that honestly, at this point, they need to hear that from us, that we are willing to do that. Only good things will come from us sitting down to negotiate with our partners in this. And I think that's where we need this to come from. When you talk to them next, make sure that that's communicated. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Anyone else with board direction? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to BCC comments. Commissioner Powell, any comments?
Madam Mayor, Madam Mayor, I got to take us back a little bit. I neglected to appoint 2 people that were in process, and apparently they're ready for the board appointments. That would be Martin Klein to the Citizens Committee on Airport Noise. He's being reappointed. And Cedric Thomas to the Planning Commission.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional comments?
No additional comments, Madam Mayor. I'm headed to FAC. I hope you all are, and have a good time.
Thank you. Commissioner Weiss.
no comment.
Vice Mayor.
I have a few comments, Madam Mayor. I would like to thank our administrator, facility staff for lighting up the historic courthouse in red, white, and blue. We had a terrible tragedy happen last week everyone is aware of. I would like to send condolences to the Charlie Kirk family, Erica Kirk, children, everyone. He was assassinated for exercising the right of free speech, and people didn't agree with what he said, or they even called it hate speech. I have watched hundreds, if not more, of his videos and have yet to find one word of hate in any of them. He expressed his opinions and his viewpoints, and he was just a very good leader and did what free speech was designed to do. He went to college campuses and he said, let's talk about it. Debate me. Tell me why I'm wrong. And I have to say, I would hope more people would do that. I think a lot of people have lost the ability to agree to disagree. The reason we are a great board, the reason we're a great community, the reason we have amazing people is because we have different opinions on multiple different things. And the idea that anyone would want everyone to think the exact same way would be a problem. I think the diversity in thought is what makes us amazing. We had a lot of people, hundreds of people, peacefully gathering out here just to show their respects and condolences to the family. So thank you, staff, for lighting up the historical courthouse. It was there, I believe, left over a little bit from some previous direction given, but still in the same, it was very thoughtful. And I want to thank PBSO for keeping everyone safe and being able to participate in such an activity. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you. And I echo what the Vice Mayor had to say. I wanted to try to prepare something to be a little more eloquent, and it couldn't quite come to the words. Everyone knows what happened. And we in this chambers, most of us, experienced very hateful, abhorrent speech to come into here, and that you would completely disagree with. And yet still, that's not the society that I want to believe we live in, that words, can be hurtful to people, and there can be misunderstandings. And if it's someone that you agree with or you disagree with, this was shocking to my very core to have this happen on whatever side you stand on. And I know that there was a lot of stuff that's being said about an individual that I didn't know personally, but I went and heard him speak. So I won't get into who he was or what he said, because really, it doesn't matter. And we have to live in a society where all of us respect each other and our opinions. We disagree on this board, we disagree with people out in the world, but it is unnerving to me to know that we could actually live in a country where this not only happened, but is celebrated and not condemned in every corner of it, because we're all in this wonderful country together in freedom, and we have freedom of speech that doesn't exist in a lot of the world. Even in our Western nations, they don't have that actual protection like we do. And I just hope that we here in Palm Beach County, we're a good community, we respect each other. Even when someone says something terrible, never resort to violence. Life is way too precious and way too short, and all of us only have a finite amount of time to be here. And I value all of you, and I value this community that I live in, even when we disagree. So just thank you, and thoughts and prayers to the family and anyone who's affected by this on either way. We are a good country, and I hope it stays that way.
Thank you. Commissioner Sachs.
Thank you. Well, I'd like to wish my daughter a happy birthday, September, and born in Bethesda Hospital here in Boynton Beach. And I'd like to recognize our firefighters for a beautiful ceremony on September 11th. It was so moving. And I've gone many years, but every year it gets a little more compelling to know that that was a horrendous act of hatred against our country, against our people. And yet, the day later, I don't think we've ever been closer together as a people. On September 12th. So, and I want everyone to recognize that this is a country that was born in revolution. And part of that revolution is, as one of our founding fathers said, I may not agree with what you say, but I'll fight to the death for your right to say it. Civil discourse is extremely important to us as a democracy, as one of the oldest democracies in the world. And we are a shining star to other countries and other people. We need to, as public servants, all of us here, and those of you too who are listening here, who are part of our county, we need to let people know that we can have a discourse of arguments, and we can have a discourse of differing views, but never, never violence. Because then we destroy our own democracy. And I know that we will be leaders in that. And I know and I respect my colleagues on this dais. I respect their comments, and I respect the fact that this county moves forward as one that will always be known for our respect for a healthy civil discourse. Thank you.
Commissioner Flores.
Yeah, I just want to take this time to acknowledge some departments. I would like to start with our fire Fire Rescue, they did a tremendous job with the 9/11 memorial last Wednesday. I think most of us were there, and I thought that was very moving, and I really appreciated being part of that. Also, Palm Tran did we held the third or fourth Hispanic Heritage bus tour on Friday. I know there's some staff members that were part of that, but I just want to thank Palm Tran for everything, and Channel 20 also was part of that. So I want to thank them for being there and being present. And lastly, the library. Yesterday we had a reading with kids, so extremely proud to go out there and read to the kids. We had a packed room, probably over 50 people. So that's pretty neat, having the community come together and being able to read to the kids. I thought it was touching. So thank you.
Thank you. I guess my only comment would be, I think you see a board that is filled with passion, and even though we may have differences, we still come together as a team, as we do with all of our employees and with all of the citizens that live here in Palm Beach County. Thank you for being part of our family. We will be adjourned, and we will be returning at 5:05 this evening for our final budget meeting. See you at 5:05.